What is going on, everybody? We're back with another stream. Good one, actually. Obviously, you guys know by now I am a martial artist at this point. So we gotta talk about a couple of legends tonight. Legends beyond legend. Obviously, we gotta talk about the legend. Before we do that, please do me a favor: hit the like, share, and subscribe. And if you can hear me, give me a yo, what's up, or something in the comments, so I know you guys can hear me nice and clear. So, except that, let's get into it. Bruce Lee. Bruce Lee is obviously a legend of a legend. He's beyond a legend. Anybody that knows martial arts know who uh, Bruce Lee is. Bruce Lee is one of the most famous martial artists out there. I don't care who you are, what you know who he is. He is the master of MMA. People say, "Oh, MMA wasn't around then." Bullshit. He was. Jeet Kune Do started everything. Jeet Kune Do is a mixed martial art from karate, kung fu, and so on. Now, when it comes to some other ones, we have Jackie Chan. He's a master himself. He is the master of the I'm trying to remember the style. Drunken master. A drunken master is literally you act like you're drunk the whole time. You wobbling and stuff like that. It's a very hard technique to learn, actually. Um, it's not as easy as people think it is. It's a technique that it takes its own discipline. It's a form of kung fu, but it is very disciplined. Number third person, Jet Li. Jet Li is also an icon. He is a master of his own, and he is a goddamn great martial artist. Some people call him a Hollywood martial artist. I disagree. I think he's a real martial artist. Well, I think everything he has done is beyond expectations. So, Bruce Lee, obviously, we know he died young, unfortunately. I have a theory. If Bruce Lee was still around, would he be accepting with our martial arts as today, the MMA, the UFC? I want to say no, actually. I would say a hard no. So before I go, I want to read this thing I have up here. Um, what happened when Bruce Lee fought Jackie Chan in a movie? Bruce Lee and Jackie Chan never fought in real life. I want to keep that in mind. They have never fought in or sparred, but they didn't know each other very. They know each other and even worked together when both were employed at the Golden Heart Studio. Chan has a study of both Fist and Fury of the Enter the Dragon. He had a part with him, Enter the Dragon. So that is most that we know that two are there. Now, let's get back to Jet Li for a second. Let me get his stuff up here. Here it is. Okay, Jet Li. Obviously, he's done 100,000 movies. But the question, what kind of martial art is he? Is I'm actually looking up as we speaking because I don't want to give you guys the wrong information. Okay, he studied three kind. He four kind. I'm sorry. Chinese martial artist. Chinese martial art is also known as kung fu, tai chi. Here's the thing with Tai Chi, guys. I want to make sure they're very clear. People think Tai Chi is a very grandpa style. The real Tai Chi masters can flex their muscles and move very instantly. Obviously, I cannot show it on camera, but yeah. Um, Wing Chun. Wing Chun, it is a part of Kung Fu, but it's its own style. This one, I'm not got Bazuko. I can't pronounce the name correctly. I apologize. Is a style is it own. So don't know. It doesn't say here if he's a black belt. More than a black belt, whatever. I assume he has a black belt in all of these, but he is the master of this stuff. So, who is your favorite actor? The question is. Let me know in the chat. Seriously, who is your favorite for all three? Is it Bruce Lee? Is it Jackie Chan or Jet Li? I have mixed feelings. Obviously, my I'm gonna say all three because here's the thing. Jackie Chan is a wonderful actor. He did I don't know how many movies over the years. Movies beyond movies. So the movies he done, they're incredible, and they are good. And we got our first person in, as always, our cheerleader. Good evening. Have a great show. Please hit the like and share, subscribe. This is coming from our cheerleader, unofficial, Stacy. I'm gonna give her a round of applause, like always. Thank you for, in, thank you for supporting and being there for us. Oh, little fun fact, if you guys don't know, I'm gonna pop the bubble now because I wanna let you guys know. October coming around the corner. As always, I am being at Comic Con New York Saturday. If you guys there, please, if you see me around, give me a high five. Give me a set. What's up? Take some pictures. Shit, let's go live together. Saying Stacy will be there with us as our unofficial camera person for that night. I need I had to recruit somebody. But seriously, if you're going to be at Comic Con, please let me know. I will probably be bumping into our channel favorite supporter, Pop Culture Warrior. He's gonna be there as always. He's gonna be doing my thing. I'm gonna do my thing. But please, if you're there, I'm gonna try to recruit some people to maybe come on the show as guests. That's gonna be a difficult one, but yeah, I got to clean up a little bit and look a little presented as a grooming reviews. But anyway, back to the subject. So with where was I left? Bruce Lee, great actor, great martial artist. Fun fact, actually, he was so fast of his moves as he was throwing them, the camera couldn't pick it up. They're like, dude, you got to fucking slow down. We can't keep it up. And I think that was interesting, like how fast he was. Bruce Lee was a phenomenal martial artist. Not only that, he loved working out. And by working out, that was an understatement how much he loved to work out. That's all he loved to do. And days after days, he used to work out. Okay, so here are the top martial arts that Bruce Lee studied under. Right? Kung Fu, Chinese martial art. The debate is some people say it's different, some people say it's together. I think they're under the same category. My personal opinion. Boxing, yes, boxing is a martial art. I'm gonna skip Jeet Kune Do because that's his own create. Wing Chun, that we all know he mastered. Uh, I apologize, I always butcher this name. Taekwondo, wrestling, street fighting, arm. Arm is a form of stick fighting. It came out of Thailand, I believe. Then we have Hungo and fencing. And let's see what our other persons jump in the chat. Yo, what's up? My favorite is Vancouver, Clan Van Damme. Okay. Bruce Lee, Steven Seagal, and of course Jackie Chan. Okay, here's a funny fact here with these guys. Okay. Van Damme was a very martial artist. Cannot take that away from Bruce Lee. Of course, we just talked about that. Steven Seagal. Steven Seagal is debatable. There are articles out there. There are stories out there in the community, in the martial community. He is not a real martial artist. People say. I seen him spar. I seen him fight. The style he actually trains under is questionable because it's very slow moving. In a fight, you have to act very fast. You cannot snap. You got to snap the wrist. You got to move with it. And it's one of those things you cannot. Before we get here, guys, I'm going to throw the link, the link in the chat right now. So everyone's joined. The platform is open. Join us. Let's have a great conversation tonight because this is always a good time when we guys up here. So, so with those, how many we got here? 1, 2, 3, four, five, six, 7, 8, 9, 10 different styles. He took it, and that's a 10 we know official. I know he did karate and some other stuff too, but there's not. I would say these are stuff that he actually talked about and got a black belt. Again, and that's stuff. There are a lot more styles he knew, but over time he realized, but that kick works really well, but this works better over here. But that is good, but let's tweak it to this. That's not traditional karate or kung fu or Chinese martial art or Wing Chun. So what do we do? He created his own. First time in history, a martial artist went out and said, "I'm gonna create my own." That is fascinating back then. Now you see all these different stars come out. Chuck Norris has his own. This person has his own. That person has his own. Even in martial art is very watered down in America. Let's keep that. Let's be real here for a second. It's very, very watered down. So when you do get somebody who knows what the fuck they're doing, oh, you're gonna go through some pain. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. Martial art is not a style that it's going to be walking apart. If you go into a dojo or a karate studio and you're getting belt after belt after belt after belt after belt, we call this a make dojo. Make dojo stands for corporation side, like McDonald's. That's why it's called dojo. Get it? Nothing wrong with that. But it's not the proper way. That's my problem with it. So what do you ask when you go to martial arts? Before I get too far ahead, I just want to get this out of the way. First question you ask is, where did you get a degree from? Oh, I got it from X, Y, Z. That's one. Then you ask follow-up questions like, what kind of equipment you use, what kind of self-defense you do, what kind of this, what kind of that. Is anything you can throw a red flag like, okay, how long did it take you to get your black belt? Oh, it took you a year. No. If he says it take you like several years, okay, I can believe it. Depends on the style. Yeah, okay, I'll give you that. If he tells you, I'm a 10th degree black belt in 5 different styles, you're full of shit, motherfucker. Straight up, you're full of fucking shit. Because there's no way in hell you can get a several degree black belts. No way. The reason you cannot, it takes a lifetime to do one. One. So what people usually do is, and I hate to say this, there is, how can I put this in the right way? There is a way to go online, fill up a questionnaire, get certified. You hear me right? Certified online. Okay, I understand some things you can get certified, like state inspection or surf save, whatever. But you cannot get a black belt certification online. It's impossible. I'm telling this from facts. So, all right, let's get back to the original topic. Okay, so we cleared how Bruce Lee is a martial artist. So let's go to Jackie Chan. Let me get his style up. I'll just make sure I got all of it listed correctly. And I'm pretty sure I got all of it in my head, but I want to make sure. Oh, man, I fucked that up. Yep, here we go. So, come on. There's the old way. Hang on 1 second, guys. It's fighting me for some reason. I don't know why. Boom. There we go. Okay. Jackie Chan, actually, he's more than I expected. Wow, that threw me off completely. Okay, Jackie Chan has Chinese martial arts, and he mastered the Drunken Master, like I said. Then he also knows. Uh, sorry, I lost my page for a second. Tai Chi, then again, that's under a Chinese style. Wing Chun, again, under the Chinese style. Oh, that's the wrong thing I'm looking at. Oops, I apologize. Chinese martial art, Jeet Kune Do, that is a Bruce Lee style. Uh, Taekwondo is a Korean style. Judo, not sure judo which one it comes from. And Capoeira. Okay, let's find this. Judo is a Japanese style, and Caputo is a uh doesn't really say where is it from. Interesting. Let's see here. Fine. Um. Oh, Korean. Okay, that is Korean. I am going to kick somebody's butt later. So Black David's gonna be running a little late because he forgot about the show. Hopefully he can make it on time. So obviously, let's go back here. Okay, so he has under his belt one, two, three, four, five styles, and he has mastered one. That makes sense now. Now Jet Li has, like I said, Chinese martial art, Tai Chi, Wing Chun, and Bazela. So I definitely know one, two, three. I need to double check the originality. Yep, that's Chinese again. Definitely, when that's Chinese, and this one I'm not familiar with too much. Trying to find where the style comes out, originality is from. Let's do some homework here really fast because I am. There's so many different martial arts out there. Like it's hard to know everything about every style. Well, okay, it originally came up in the 19th century. That makes sense. Uh, that is another Chinese style. Yeah. Let me send this message and we'll go back to the show. Okay, so as a martial artist again, learning different styles, that's impressive. I just want to double check one thing. I want to make sure I have the style correctly. Let's see if I'm right about Jackie Chan, if he's a master and something. Jackie Chan. So also a side note, Jackie Chan is also a director and writer and producer in a martial art studio known as his own. Um, so he's actually he's pushing 70. Holy shit, he actually looks good for fucking 70. Holy crap, didn't expect to be that fucking old. Uh, doesn't come up here. Oh wow, that's interesting too. Okay, so he actually studied under the same instructor that what's his name? Man, my brain just took a shit on me. Um, Bruce Lee at Hip Man. So who doesn't know Hip Man or Hip Man? Depends how you pronounce it. It's a he is Bruce Lee's instructor. Very good instructor. One of the best in Wing Chun and Chinese martial arts. He's probably one of the best. All right, let's get his ass in here. Of course, we're talking about Mr. President. Let's blow you up, man.
It's good, sir.
What's going on, my brother? How are you tonight?
I am all right. All right. Finally, just wind down a little bit, but
Long day?
yeah, always on the weekend. Because the thing is, because I have such a long work week and commuting and everything, so it's like I catch up on everything on the weekend. But I was able to go out and see actually Bad Boys. Actually was pretty good. I enjoyed it. My wife
Hold
and
on,
I
let me
enjoyed it.
get Black David because I got yelled at him.
Hey, what's going on? What's going on?
What's going
It was
on,
good, sir.
Mister? Forgot about the show.
No, I didn't forget. I told you I have a long ass day. When you got kids that came over, then your son best friend come from Arizona, then the grandkid come. You the only one to come in, and you find out two more just came out of nowhere. Then you gotta keep watching your little grandkid from all over the place because the person you're with is a little bit too tired. Yeah, keep your eye open. You can make some home repairs and stuff like that. And now I'm doing laundry. So much for Father Day, huh?
Laundry, yeah, man.
Yeah. So
My
Paul,
Father
you were
Day
saying.
mean nothing to me. It just means another day, more chores, more stuff we need to get done.
Well,
And
salute
the
to you,
sun
sir.
never stop. So Paul,
If you got, if you guys check out my Facebook, I put a nice little Father's Day note out there for the guys out there doing their thing. So
I saw that. I didn't get a chance to read it, so I'm gonna check it out
I'll
later.
check it out later.
Yeah. So Paul, you were saying you saw Black Boys today.
Bad Boys, yeah, yeah, it was
How do you
pretty
think
good.
about it? I saw it
Actually, no, it
last
was
week.
very entertaining.
I enjoyed it. I think it was good.
I did, yeah.
So from '04, which one's your favorite now?
Honestly, I got to go back and look. I would probably say three is
Really?
probably um or two or three. I kind of go back and forth with those two as far as being better. But nah, like I said, I thought it was very good. I
Hmm.
thought the a lot of surprises in there and whatnot. So nah, it was just a fun summer blockbuster type of film. Definitely fits the bill very nicely. I think anybody who goes and see it, I don't think he'll be disappointed.
I saw it last week. I enjoyed it. It was a really good movie. I will probably recommend anybody seeing it. But I am going to disagree. I don't think three was the best one. I think two is the best one in my opinion.
Mm.
So, David, have you seen it yet?
I haven't seen four yet. I've seen part of three. I'm a very tough critic of movies, but I would have to agree with Peter. Two seem to be well put together for a lot of technical reasons, but I'm not sure when you're doing sequence to a movie and the time frame too far apart, you kind of lose the flair of it.
Hmm.
Something I noticed for a long time because as a kid, when you watch a movie and you kind of look at the time gap, how long it took to produce the next sequel, every 2 or 3 years, it's understandable. But if it takes you almost to a decade trying to recreate the matter, it kind of like loses taste. I don't know why. It just I have an issue when people do a sequel. If you're gonna do it properly. Keep to the time frame. Don't be forgetful or having some backdoor issue with production. Then you know wait almost a decade later to do the sequel. It's not gonna feel the same.
I think that's what they try to do with Bad Boy 2. I mean, Bad Boys for Life, the third one. Because, okay, so you have 95 was the first one, and it was a great movie. I'm not going to deny that.
Hmm.
'03 was the second one, and it wasn't that long. If you think about it, it was several years between each other. Okay, that makes sense. Now, you're going from '03 to 2020. That's a long fucking time. And that's
See,
when,
you see what I'm talking about.
yeah, when they have that's a big gap. You miss so much in the middle. What happened? And like, they're too old to say, oh, let's do a prequel for this movie. It doesn't
Yeah.
work like that. And like, Will Smith is the face of Bad Boys.
Hmm.
And again, I keep forgetting the other actors.
Michael Lawrence, Martin Lawrence.
Mark Warren, thank you. He's the other. They both are faces of it. You can't deny that.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah.
Bad Boys three,
Though,
I think.
although I have seen, you know, movies that have taken a long time to come out and actually pretty good. I thought Top Gun Maverick, I thought was very good. Even though now you're talking like what 30 years when Top Gun came out, like 80, 84, 85.
That's a long break. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I
So I
think it was
mean, a lot of start.
80.
false starts or whatnot. But it's just the time came right to put another one. But I thought it was very well done. They put a lot of it was certainly one of the most realistic flight films. And you talk about like jet fighter type of action and whatnot. They really put a lot into making it look very real. And I just think that it was well done. So something there are cases where yeah, you wait a while before you kind of get back into something. And so but I think they did it right. And I didn't get a chance to see it. My only regret is that I didn't get a chance to see it in IMAX. I think that would have been an experience. I thought just what I saw, I thought was pretty incredible. But to see that in IMAX would have been, certainly just taken to just like another level still.
I
Had
agree
I
with you
been,
100%.
yeah.
I was having that same conversation with Stacy this weekend about IMAX. She didn't know what the real difference is. It's
Hmm.
just a bigger screen, bigger seats, bigger speakers, bigger everything.
Right. But
So
there's IMAX and IMAX. To me, now having said that, there's only one real theater that deserves IMAX, and I'm sure David, that's the IMAX in New York on Sixth Ave.
He knows
The
exactly what you're talking about. You know
Yeah, the
exactly what you're talking. I've been there.
the true one. I mean, that's like
the first
the
one.
stadium seating. It's almost like what's the other what's the other technology? Well, I guess it is IMAX. But it's like the seats go like vertical. It's like vertical. You know what I mean? Like a typical movie theater seating kind of go up like this. The IMAX it goes like almost straight up and down. I
And here
mean,
the
you got to
and here,
really be careful when you get your
and here the
seats.
problem with that theater. You cannot sit on the air to have a perfect view. You have to stay in the middle.
Well, middle up because I did that. I saw Godzilla 2014
Oh,
and we picked seats in the middle. And we were like low, like I'm still looking up at the thing. So you need to be like
yeah,
in the upper level if you really want to get a scale. But we're
pretty
looking up like
much.
this, like at the. So you got to be very careful about where you get your seats. So I was not expecting that because that was my first time ever going there. But it's like
Uh,
6 stories high. You know what I mean? It is a. But
wait,
any other
Nosebleed.
IMAX in a local area, it's not the same thing. It's not even
I'll
close.
give you
here's
that.
my
Yeah,
trend.
100%
When I'm
agree
going
with you.
to a movie theater, I always aim for the back, no matter what theater it may be. But when you go into the IMAX, you go all the way in the back, stay right in the middle. You can have a perfect view without
Thank
straining
Yeah.
your neck or turning your back. I don't know why people like to go to the front. It makes no goddamn sense. Because to
Hmm.
me, I look at it like it's like little kids staying front in the big screen TV trying to blind them. So I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? Like, you
Yeah.
serious? You
Right.
need to be that close to the screen? No. Move
Right.
all the way back and enjoy the whole scene.
Right.
Yeah, I
Right.
like sitting in chairs like I don't care IMAX or non-IMAX, whatever. And like David said, in the middle, all the way in the back, because you're in a perfect seat right there. And
Yeah.
usually nobody goes up that way.
Right.
And so, I my issue with movies sometimes are kids. People talking, trying to do one of
Tell
these
me about
things,
it.
like
Hmm.
trying
Yeah.
to catch the movie and everything. Like, come on, man! Like,
Hmm.
just put your
And you
fucking phone
wonder
down. Just
why
live for the moment.
celebrities have a built-in theater for themselves.
Hmm. Yeah. Oh, there was a funny trailer too. In fact, tomorrow I may see Wolverine and Deadpool and Wolverine tomorrow. I may
I want to
try to
see
sneak
that.
out and
That's a
see
nice
that.
movie.
But they had a very funny pre movie bit on silencing your phones and everything before
Oh, when he's
it was
cursing
pretty
everybody
funny.
out, fuck you.
It's
Turn
like
your
they broke
fucking
the
phone off,
fourth
you fucking
wall to
asshole.
address the crowd and everything. It was
That's the problem
hilarious.
with that movie. You got to deal with the guy entering the fourth wall. So imagine you're going to start the movie and he just did this, that. Oh, you got turn on your phone. If I do with the phone, I will slice you and get right back in the movie.
Yeah.
That will
Yo,
mess
he wouldn't
you
say
up.
that. Wolverine was literally cursing every other. Every other word was fuck, worse than me.
Yeah.
Turn your fucking phone off. You're at the fucking movies. You're disturbing the fucking movie we're watching. Shut the fuck up and turn the fucking movie. I'm like, holy. I went like, ding, ding, ding. Yo, remember
Yeah.
the
Deadpool was bailing him out. Deadpool was like, whoa, whoa,
do
whoa.
you remember the movie with Stallone, Demolition Man? Every time he cursed, you get
Yeah.
taken.
Yeah.
Oh my god! If that was a real thing and he was cursing and going,
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
oh
That was
well,
But
pretty.
you,
good thing
but you
you're
do
rich
need
because you
that.
got a lot of tickets coming.
You need that
What's up?
because it brings a lot into play. This is Deadpool you talk about. You need to have something like that. So it will throw everybody off and like, oh, yeah, turn off the phone. For real, for real. Because I have the same issue when it comes to go to the theater because I'm very picky with movies. So picky that I had my research about who the producer, to a lot of debate. Now, the only movie I would love to enjoy seeing in the theater right now within the past 4 years is Doom. The recreation of Doom
Yeah.
from the early 80s, because compared to Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit, those are masterpiece movies. I only enjoyed movies that
Yeah.
they take their
I didn't get a chance to see
time.
the sequel. I heard it didn't do as well as the first one though. I thought it was,
Which
they
one is
said
it?
it was a little bit of a letdown. Dune 2. They
Mm.
said it was a little bit of a letdown. So I don't know. I haven't seen it, but I saw the first one on HBO during the pandemic.
I thought the
So
first one too,
certainly it was, yeah,
and
it was on HBO
I'm
Max.
I'm not
That was
gonna
what I saw.
lie.
Yeah.
I found myself double checking in my head when I'm watching the whole entire movie, comparing it to the old one.
Mm-hmm.
Every scene,
Are
every
you talking about
look.
the '84?
I'm a movie nerd. When I see a movie do a
Yeah.
recreation, the first thing comes to my mind is, are you going to surpass the old one? Are you going to do well in this
Mm-hmm.
area? Are you going to do well in that area? How you address this issue? How you address this? I'm in my head quietly watching like a critic, because I'm not the type
Mm-hmm.
of gullible movie goer who, oh my God, everything has to make sense. It got to.
Yeah.
I
I
agree with you, but here's the thing: I always, as when I was younger, I always looked forward to it. Not anymore because of all these leaks and online stuff. But when I was younger, I used to look forward to for the trailers because it tells you what they've been working on. Oh my god, that was cool. People are like, really? You really looking forward to that shit? I'm like, yeah, man. I'm like,
Yeah.
I used to go to movies all the time.
Yeah.
Now, this was the first movie in years I went to, so because I got 85-inch TV. I got, I just need to update my surround sound pretty soon.
Right.
But what's the point for me even bother going to this shit? I have
Yeah. Well,
everything at
yeah.
home.
Well, that's one of the reasons why I tend to sit in the middle and up. I know you guys said you like to sit back. I like to sit in the middle. Like my field of view should be like end to end. Like
Mhm.
I should be somewhat immersed in it. If I sit too far back, then it's like I'm watching on my HD TV. So I want to be sort of in close enough to get an appreciation for the scale. And like I said, with the IMAX, that is, but like I said, I've been to other IMAXs. It's like once you've gone to the one in New York City, there is no other IMAX. It's
That
just,
that that is
it's
that
OG.
is
That's the
fact. That
original.
is fact. I'm not gonna lie to
that
you.
is
He
like,
he
and
know what he's talking about.
there's only like 4 of them like on the East Coast. Like overall, there might be like 12 IMAXs in the country like that. You know what I mean? I think there might be 3 or 4 on the East Coast. You can sort of look them up where they have like like again, the 6-story type of stadium type of seating.
Mhm.
And that one, but again, it's like that's for only certain films. Now, like I said, Godzilla, I thought that was that was worthy of seeing it because that was one of the first times I actually saw a Godzilla movie actually in the theater. Everything else I saw like on video or DVD or something like that. So again, I wanted the full immersive experience of it. But again, Top Gun Maverick, that would have been one to see. There's certain films that are best on when I think when Star Wars, I guess when the middle sequels were out, trilogy was out, that might have been a good place to see it. But there's certain films that are worthy, that are IMAX worthy. Anything else you can kind of, pay I paid $5. I paid $5.50 for matinee today for two. My wife and I, we spent $11 to see the movie today because we kept caught the matinee show at noon. So but yeah, but for certain films, it's like, oh, I gotta go see this in IMAX. And when I say IMAX, I mean the IMAX. So, but the whole trip to New York City, whatnot, Sixth Avenue, and all that, that kind of makes it sort of worth. It kind of makes it worthwhile.
It's a travel. Trust me, it is.
Yeah,
It definitely is worth it. It's a hike. Parking
yeah.
and everything. I'm not sure what the parking around there is now anymore, but it used to cost you a good pennies. The parking
Oh yeah, I
to
take
get through.
public in, man. There was
Oh.
a friend of mine. He lives up in northern Jersey. There's actually a shuttle bus
Mm-hmm.
off of Route 46 in New Jersey that actually will take you into the city, and I think it's like $10 or $12. And he dumps you off at this spot that's like literally within 5 or 6 blocks of the theater. So,
That is
so
good.
I already kind of got it scoped out. I go to his house up in northern Jersey. We park that little white shuttle bus kind of comes and takes us in. It's pretty easy at that point.
So you can do it under $100 easy. You're saying?
Easy.
Yeah, but not everybody has that privilege. That's the thing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, like I said, if you just drive to northern Jersey. Park park in northern Jersey, get the shuttle, and you're good to go.
Let's get into the show. What do you guys think?
All right. So what's the topic again tonight?
Tonight we're talking about. Let me bring my notes up. Bruce Lee versus Jackie Chan versus Jet Li. I added Jet Li the last minute because oh man,
That's
he's
not
gonna
even
be infamous.
fair.
Come on. Legend of Martial Arts Cinema. Open
David, you
statement.
mute
Go
if
for
you're
it.
talking. You mute it.
Me or David? Like David, you're definitely muted, bro.
And you're like 10 times bigger than us, also. it's like,
He's
it's
on his
like,
phone, so he's
like push, zoom back.
yeah. I don't think he's realizing that he's on his phone. And I know
Yeah,
he's trying to do the show, but he's struggling.
right. But I don't think that's even a fair question. I mean, you have your pioneers. Bruce was clearly a pioneer when it came to Hong Kong filmmaking. He basically put Hong Kong film on the map. Not to say that he didn't start it, but he put it on the map, and just the popularity, with the films, Into the Dragon and whatnot, that launched the whole kung fu um, craze in the '70s. Carl Douglas came out with Everybody's Kung Fu Fighting. So again, he really established everything else that came after that. You had different genres of it. You had your classic pieces. You had your kind of gritty, more city type of dramas and whatnot. But I just think that comparing Bruce to Jackie, for example, is like apples and oranges. I mean, it's Jackie went for a very comedic style, very stunt, string work oriented type of work. Bruce was very gritty. He used it as a platform to talk about his Jeet Kune Do. So the fight scenes were very much were much more
Marketing.
efficient. Efficient, I would say, in terms of the movement. He wasn't doing like the crazy stuff, like
Just like a
uh,
marketing scheme.
gravity define. Yeah. So Jackie is like, again, there's always been like a comedic at least his later stuff. Now his early stuff, when Jackie had like the long hair and he was doing like Shadow Claw and Eagle Fist, and some of those early films or whatnot in the '70s that we used to see. I mean, that was more serious work. But when he became sort of the comedian,
Hmm.
it I didn't appreciate it as much. I didn't appreciate a lot of his comedic stuff actually until Rush Hour, to be honest with you. The Rush
Really?
Hour films, I thought, especially the first two, I thought were, certainly I could appreciate what he brought from a comedic element along with the martial arts to the table. A lot more than his stuff that he came out like in the '80s and the '90s, before Rush Hour, whatnot. I wasn't impressed. It's like, you want laughs or whatever. He'll do something. I think he did. I think I might have saw one film. I think Rumble in the Bronx. I think that
Hmm.
came out like I think in '93, I believe '93, '94, something like that. And again, it was it was okay, but but I think Rush Hour made me appreciate Jackie a lot more than so you got a big gap. The stuff in the '70s, Shadow Claw, Eagle Claw, and then after that, now I don't know when the Drunken Master movies came out. I guess from the first Drunken Master to Drunken Master 2, I thought that adding his comedic and everything, I
Hmm.
thought in Drunken Master 2 is up there. That might be certainly it's
I
in my
agree with
top
you.
10
I agree with you on that one.
as far as martial arts films. That was the last fight scenes in that one are amongst the best ever, like of all time. Wire work, no wire work, whatever you want to put in there. That closing scene in the factory and whatnot, that's as good as it gets, when it comes to choreography and just the fighting and everything. Yeah. So I think he hit his stride. I think in the mid to late '90s, I think he really hit his stride there. Some of the '80s work I wasn't as familiar with. Now Jet Li, again, a different guy. I think if anything, he might have blended what a lot of Bruce did with a lot of Jackie stuff.
Once upon a time
So
in China, 1, 2, and 3. That kind of like put them on the map.
yeah, Yeah, but Fist the Legend. Now, the first time
Oh,
I saw Jackie was Fist the Legend. Fist the Legend was the first one I saw. I knew he was out there, but I just wasn't as connected to Hong Kong theater at the time. But Fist the Legend, which certainly was an homage to Fist of Fury or
mhm,
Chinese Connection, whatever title they want to you want to call it. So I thought it didn't have the grittiness I thought of Bruce's work. I mean, certainly the character. I thought Bruce was like he might have been at his most dangerous, I would say,
maybe so.
in Fist of Fury. Yeah. I mean, he was like in another. He was like in another place. Like he was crazy. He was psychotic in that film. I didn't get that from Jet Li, that he had that, but so they kind of painted the story around different circumstances and whatnot. It was loosely based on the original, but I thought it was different enough to where it's hard. I don't want to necessarily compare the two, but I thought I thought he put everything emotionally
I
into
want
that film. His most emotional role was Fist of Fury.
the thing I wouldn't say it's almost like those to put its own split because I know once I know about the Hong Kong or Japanese actors, they don't want to be another copy of it. So he'll put his own twist. But the thing is, for someone who is a martial art guy, something like the movie, what Jeffrey was doing was showcasing his talent, how he can flexibly learn different art and different style. Because if anyone will watch a lot of kung fu movies, we'll all look at who portrayed the character better than anyone else. And it's hard
Mm-hmm.
to say. For the Fifth Legend, I thought the wonder would it be a part two because the way we were going about, the dude had to fake his death. He had to like quote
Mm-hmm.
unquote, someone gotta die because he did X, Y, and D because they're not gonna let this one slide. So that was very,
Mm-hmm.
very interesting. Once upon a time in China, 1, 2, and 3, it was very good. The Fender was really good. The Black Mask, that was almost like I can't say it was copying
That
Bruce
was like
Lee.
an homage to
Yeah, to
Green
Bruce Lee,
Hornet, right?
the Green Hornet, yes.
Yeah, Green Hornet. Yeah, yeah.
And the way the Black Mask came about, I was like, mm, I gotta take more time to digest it because the way he was going about, I hate to say this, skill set, even among their martial artists, nobody couldn't tell who was better between him and Bruce Lee. They were thinking it could be a draw
Mm-hmm.
because those who know Jet Li and those who know Bruce Lee, they say they're two different styles. It's like Jet
Oh,
Li
very much so.
was
Yeah.
more flexible than Bruce Lee, and the stuff he do and the style he was doing, they were comparing him with Jackie Chan instead of Bruce Lee. That was the comparison was going
Yeah,
on.
right. Because they both came from the. I don't know if they came from like the Chinese opera background. I know
Chinese opera
Jet Li.
slash
He was a
Chinese
wushu
kung fu
champion.
school. Chinese
Yeah, but
opera
he was a
slash kung
wushu
fu
champ
school. Yeah,
also.
there you go.
Yeah. In fact, yeah. Pete, I don't know if you noted, remember, um, Jet Li actually performed for President Nixon when Nixon went to China
Right,
in
I know that.
1972.
Mhm.
They got footage of Jet Li as a kid doing like the wushu demonstrations or whatnot when in front of President Nixon when he made that historic trip over there in '72. So he's actually that's on. You can find that on YouTube. So he definitely
Before we
had
get too
a
ahead, I want to go off what kind of style all three know. So let's start with Bruce Lee first. Hang on, I'm gonna get his stuff back up here.
you're a little shallow up here. You can turn up your volume a little bit. You're a little low.
I'm a little okay. Hang on. How's that?
It's a little bit better.
Okay,
A little bit better.
hang on. Let me do. How's that?
Yeah,
Better.
much better.
Okay. So let me get one person up here that I don't have. I have him, but I just. Boom.
I remember I was
Let's go over
I,
Bruce Lee's. I'm going to go over the styles Bruce Lee has known that he studied the most. There are a couple that are not on here, but I'm going to go off them.
mhm.
Kung Fu, Chinese martial arts. People debate they're both the same. That's debatable.
Mm-hmm.
Boxing, Jeet Kune Do, that's his own crazy style that we know
Mm-hmm.
for a fact. Wing
Mm-hmm.
Chun, Taekwondo, wrestling, street fighting, arnis, hip hop, and fencing. I know for a fact he did karate and some other
Right.
stuff too.
Right.
So that's Bruce Lee. Jet Li studied Chinese martial arts, Tai Chi, Wen Chi, and Bazikan. I can't pronounce that fucking name. And Jackie Chan is Chinese martial arts, Jeet Kune Do, be surprised or not, Taekwondo, Judo, and Hip, Hipikando. That is a Chinese. I know that I
Hapkido,
looked it up before.
Hapkido, Hapkido.
Hapkido, thank you, Hapkido. The spelling is throwing me off.
Mhm.
So all these martial artists combined. I do know Jackie Chan is the one of the few drunken masters out there. I know he made a movie of it. No fun fact,
Mhm.
but he is a drunken master. He knows the
But
whole
he did mention he
drunken
learned
style.
10-year Northern style, 5-year Southern style. So there's like two sides of Kung Fu. And to learn both sides is not that easy. Like the Kung Fu
No,
Mhm.
and
schools,
his instructor is the same person who taught Bruce Lee, Ip Man. That threw me up. I learned that literally as I was before you guys came on, as I'm
Mhm.
live, like I'm now. I'm like, I
hmm
looked at her like, oh, he has the same instructor. That explains a lot now.
and the
Because
thing,
the
a lot
only
of
time
people
Jack,
who revere Ip Man had an issue with Bruce Lee teaching the art outside the country.
Mhm.
hmm
Yeah.
So that was the big issue behind. Because Ip Man was considered to be a iconic
one
hero
of the
to the
best,
country and what he
absolutely.
represented.
I'm not denying that.
So when Bruce Lee did what he did, even though Ip Man did not hold that against him, so to say, but a follower of Ip Man, man, it's like an army. We'll talk.
Well, from what I understand, I think there was such a controversy. First of all, there was a controversy in the school that Bruce Lee was in because he was one quarter German. He wasn't full blooded Chinese.
Mm,
That caused a situation in the school where actually
Who was half German?
he was actually given over to his one of Ip Man's master student. I think William Chung was actually one of his master students. Bruce actually did most of his Wing Chun training with William Chung, not with Ip Man. Ip Man ran the school, but in order to avoid some of the controversy of him, giving instruction to someone who wasn't fully Chinese, because I know Bruce Lee's mom is half German.
mm.
Really?
So yeah, so that was a problem. In Hong Kong, that they were so strict about who should be learning their martial arts, and that was something that Bruce. And I think that's probably one of the things that probably drove him also as to why he opened up the martial arts to different people. His first student in the United States, I think, was a guy named Glover. Jesse Glover was a black man. So again, but I think a lot of that came from him experiencing that discrimination in China. People talking about he was half breed or mongrel or whatever they were the names they would call him, and so I think that also contributed to why he felt he needed to open it up to everybody because he was discriminated against.
I did not know that. That is a new fact. I thought he
Mhm.
was 100% Chinese.
No,
Almost,
no, his mom's half German. Yeah.
almost every march fellow who follow after though to Bruce Lee, Jackie Chan, and Jet Li know about that particular story. They don't know that. They understand Ip Man because Ip Man is like a highly respected martial artist who multiple martial artists and actors. And they understand the dilemma behind him because Ip Man was a quiet man. He's not about drama or trouble whatsoever. But the
Mhm.
followers need to understand the history of China. How many countries are trying to suppress China at that time? So Germany was one of it. So yeah, you're gonna have hatred to the outsider who trying to come to your nation and trying to make you feel like you guys are weak because there are so many movies that Jet Li did that demonstrate the history behind it.
Mhm.
You know what I'm talking about?
I totally
Bits of
agree. And I just
legend,
looked up. I just
hero.
looked up his nationality. What again? I'm looking it up again. Take this with a grain of salt, please, because you don't know how true this stuff is. His father was 100% Chinese, like you said, Paul.
Yeah.
His mother was a mixture, mostly European, from the three British colonies. So again, take this with a grain of salt. Well, obviously, we know, like Paul said, let's say if it could be Chinese, maybe German, and maybe British too. Again, I'm not related to the
Well,
guy.
yeah,
I'm not
but
sure.
yeah, I knew she was multi ethnic.
Okay,
That
so
we
that's
knew.
pretty
So
accurate then.
yeah.
And
But even then, I mean, that just goes to how stupid racism is. I mean, it's like
but let's not forget Hong Kong was
yeah,
a former British colony before they turned it over.
yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So to find out the facts, Jackie Chan and Chun Li never, Jackie Chan and Bruce Lee never actually fought together. Obviously, he learned his style. I think he learned it after his passing. He learned Jeet Kune Do. I'm actually looked it up as I'm talking to you guys.
Well, Jackie,
But
no, with Jackie, well, I don't know about fought or spar. I knew obviously they were in Enter the Dragon together.
that's where I was going with this. The only time they actually worked one time together, and they only did a film fight. Never really sparred
Right,
or
spar as far as
anything.
sparring one, yeah, yeah.
Nothing. There was only a film fight.
Mm-hmm.
So people say, "Oh, there's scenes out there." Like there are no scenes. So that's the thing. You know what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna actually go ahead, Paul. Take over. What you want to say next? I know you want to say.
No. I was just making that clarification. Like I said, I know they were on set. Now again, about Bruce, he worked with a lot of guys on set because he also had to deal with a lot of challenges on set. Like a lot of guys were saying, your martial arts isn't real or whatever, or you don't believe in Jeet Kune Do or whatever. So he would have a lot of challenges on the set when it came to people wanting to test him on it. I don't know if he ever had that exchange with Jackie or not. I've heard interviews with Jackie in terms of his relationship with Bruce Lee, and he never said that they actually physically sparred, like for real. But I know he has such things he had to deal with on set, especially on Enter the Dragon. Especially there were a lot of challengers that he had to deal with. But I think he sparred with the guy Bolo Young, the big muscular guy. I think he did some sparring with him, but again, nothing serious. But they definitely did some sparring on the set. I know, and I think Jim Kelly, who was in there, he talked about certainly Bruce and his challenges on set as well. So that's about as much as I know on that.
So I'm looking up here. Where did again? There's no information on this, unfortunately, because it's all over the place. Uh, Actually, I'm wrong. Bruce Lee actually taught Jackie Chan Jeet Kune Do. I just found that actually.
Mm-hmm.
Originally, it doesn't say because he says he was his father was a head cook somewhere, and involved in the karate, yada yada. And as you scroll down, it says where who taught Jeet Kune Do to so it goes right to Bruce Lee. I'm like, wow. So it could be Bruce Lee taught him when he was doing the movies with him. I don't know.
That makes sense. I mean, he was in Hong Kong during that time, and
Yeah.
again, Jackie was, like I said, an up and coming guy. I mean, obviously the scene in Enter Dragon, he was basically like a hand at that point. He wasn't quote unquote Jackie Chan yet. But again, I would think anybody who, if you had any knowledge of Bruce Lee or respected, if anything, he put again a kung fu cinema on the map, both certainly not only in Hong Kong but also in the United States. He definitely helped to launch that. So I would think it'd be a privilege for anyone to say, look, if Bruce Lee is going to give me time, or to humble yourself to say, hey, I would like some time to to understand what then I would think a lot of guys would certainly run to that. So it wouldn't surprise me at all that him and other guys, whether it be on set doing between takes or whatever, or separate private instruction or whatever, it wouldn't surprise me at all that Bruce has some folks he tried to share his knowledge with, which unfortunately, again, tragically died at 32. So he never got the opportunity to really go in. I mean, that's one of the biggest what ifs. What if Bruce Lee lived at least through like 1980? You know what I mean? I mean, he would have been, I think, the action star. I know you're talking about Clint Eastwood with the Dirty Harrys and Charles Bronson's and all those 70s actors at the time. I think Bruce would have owned the remainder of the decade into the 80s until like you had your Arnold Schwarzeneggers and your Bruce Willis's and your Sylvester Stallone's kind of became sort of household names. I think Bruce would have been right there. He would have been relevant at least another 10 years. So again, take that to like the early 80s, and I think he would have had a much bigger impact, certainly in the United States, bringing Asia kung fu film and even beyond, because I think even in the Enter the Dragon, yes, the scene was sort of set in Asia, but I think he would have had such crossover appeal. They would have been doing a lot more things from like an Americanized, or him being like I could have definitely saw him almost like a James Bond type of character. Somebody who was like the special forces. Like you need a fixer, you need that guy to kind of go into different areas. So I mean, he would have opened up, I think, beyond Asian cinema had he lived just a few more years. I mean, if he would have lived like 10 more years, we'd be talking Bruce Lee, in a different light, and the light that he shed was pretty significant. So I just
Oh,
think it's
he's
just tragic
humongous,
that he
dude.
had his life cut down like that.
Yeah. So I want to add a trump card really fast for a few minutes here. Chuck Norris. Before you guys say anything, I want to
Hmm.
read the martial arts that is listed. I know one is not listed for a fact. He learned it from Bruce Lee.
Yeah,
Karate, Taekwondo, Judo, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, Tang Sundo.
hmm,
This is his own Chuck
right,
Kondo, and obviously I know for a fact Jeet Kune Do he learned it directly from Bruce Lee because
correct.
there are videos him teaching that to him.
Yeah, and he's had several interviews where he's acknowledged that he talked about their training sessions together. Bruce Lee taught him. He taught uh, 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 Joe Lewis. Again, another martial artist, Joe Lewis. He had a lot of personal instruction with him. Mike Stone, and even the guy he used to beat up all the time in his films, the big guy with the beard, who O'Hara in the Enter the Dragon. He was personal trainer. In fact, he's the one who introduced Joe Lewis to Bruce Lee. So again, a lot of those guys that Bruce worked with in his films, he had personal instruction with. So definitely. A big resident. Of course, Dan Inosanto, and certainly that was certainly one of his main guys who studied with Bruce the longest. So he has a pretty extensive history with those guys.
There is one instance, his name is not coming to my mind, that he's actually known to train with Bruce Lee and Jeet Kune Do and all that stuff. And he says he beat cancer. Again, I don't know how true this is. Um, with his training, that Bruce Lee's
Hmm.
taught him that. Take a grain of salt again, like I said.
Yeah.
But he's one of the one of his known. I think his name is James. If I'm not mistaken. That sounds
Mm.
familiar. But if you add that trump card, he did teach a lot of people.
Yeah.
And another thing I want to mention about Ip Master, people don't know about this, and you probably know this, Paul, and Dave probably too, because you guys are pretty good in the martial arts community like I am. He was a big smoker. Every time he taught, he was literally cross-legged with a cigarette in his hand, and he's teaching and he's smoking till the day he died. And there's the people have documented like when he sparred, he had a cigarette in his mouth the whole time sparring. I'm like, what the fuck? Imagine,
Also, don't
95
forget,
years old.
Queen Abdul-Jabbar. He also sparred with Bruce Lee in one of the movies.
Yes. Yeah. Kareem was a student as well.
Was it?
So it wouldn't surprise me as much. I mean, back in the '60s and '70s, everybody smoked. You know what I mean? It wasn't. That was just like normal. It was such a normal thing. I think at one point, I think I read the statistic or something like that. Like back in, there was a time when like 80% of adults smoked in the United States at some point. I mean, so it wouldn't surprise me at all that he did. And unfortunately, what was learned later on, David, I don't know if you're aware of this. I mean, certainly it's been documented now. He was a drug addict, Bruce. The guy who was in the Chinese Fist of Fury, the big guy with the mustache that he fought before his final scene with the Japanese guy, that was actually his drug supplier in the United States. So he was actually, and they got the document. They got letters from Linda, letters from Bruce or whatnot in terms of I need this, I need that or whatever. So he was his supplier in the United States all that time. So he definitely had a drug problem. But like I said, it's as much as we talk about how healthy he was and his body and how much he trained. I think all that stuff is true. But I certainly think that the drug use, again, Hollywood scene or that kind of scene at the time, I don't think he was immune from that as any other person was at the time. So the smoking doesn't surprise me, and neither does the because I mean all athletes smoked back then. I mean you would watch like baseball games or whatnot, and you would see guys smoking or whatever, or after a game, having smoking a cigarette, having a beer after a game or whatever. That it was just, like I said, that was the normal. In fact, used to have like news anchors. Like if you watch like Walter Cronkite or something, someone like that back in the '60s or whatever, they would be smoking on air. I mean, just as they were telecasting the news or whatever, that or a cigar or something like that as the thing was going on. Because also a lot of cigarette companies, they actually advertise. Like there was a time when you had cigarette advertisements and they were big sponsors of a lot of sports and television. So you would have folks on set smoking and promoting the cigarette product. It wasn't until like the late '70s into the '80s when they started coming out with Surgeon General warnings that's, cigarette smoking is bad for your health and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it was just a natural part of being an adult. No one necessarily batted an eye at someone smoking a cigarette. That's just, unfortunately, when you don't know, you don't know. And I think just a lot of people were just caught up in that.
It was like this. It was like a thing back then. Like like getting coffee was normal.
Yeah, I mean, you
No,
talk about just even being Greek. I mean, still the majority of Greeks smoke today.
oh
Would you
God,
say?
yeah.
Yeah. So just like so like I said, just like it was normal. Now again, I don't know if like would a major athlete like a Greek soccer player or powerlifter or wrestler or something, would they be smoking today? I don't know, but certainly it was. But smoking was as much a part of the culture as it is now in Greece.
It's very common actually.
Yeah.
Even it's very hard to see somebody not smoke actually. And
Mm,
when they do smoke, it's rare, very, very rare.
yeah.
So it, it, I'm not gonna say I support smoking. I don't. Everybody
Hmm.
knows how I feel about that.
Hmm.
But when it comes down to it, it was normal. Even now overseas, what are the one of the few countries who are like anti-smokers now? Everybody else is a big smokers. Over
Hmm.
other countries,
Yeah.
from Asian countries, European countries, is very normal. Nobody thinks it's like going out for a beer, a happy hour kind of thing. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
We have happy hour there. In Greece, it's coffee hour. You're going to smoke.
Yeah.
You smoke in the office. Is still a norm there. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah. Yeah. But I think now when they came out with the reports of like I guess the effects of secondhand smoke and how that can be as effect, I think that just changed. I think that just changed the habits of people. I mean, even in New Jersey, only the casinos. I think the casinos in Atlantic City were the only ones who got some sort of exception to have cigarettes. But I mean, I've been to Vegas recently and whatnot, and they still smoke in the casinos there. So yeah, so I think there's certain segments where they feel it's bad for business when you don't allow smoking, but it's still so it still persistent in different places. But I'm glad though that I think people are making wiser decisions in terms of consumption and whatnot. So hang on one second, guys. I just gotta put my dog up. I'll be right back in a second.
David, if you fucking flash a thong on, I'm gonna kick your ass. Don't you?
Right now, I'm trying to throw some of the clothes in the dryer right now as we speak.
Yeah, I can see you like bringing your like big freaking G string out and like, here guys,
I
yeah.
ain't got no juice in it, so cut it out.
Hey, listen, you fell asleep last time on the stream, so
I
I'm
know,
allowed
I
to let
know,
you.
I know. I deserve that. And like I say, I'm stretching myself out a little bit too thin these days, and
I
I'm
think
trying to drop
everybody's
weight.
do, bro. But anyway, back to the topic. With Bruce Lee, I would have loved to see. I don't want to say all three of them, but each one of them fight each other in a individual match. This is my
Maybe
theory.
in a match, it would have looked good, but in a movie, I have an issue with that because here's the problem with what Bruce Lee was doing. Yet he was heavy on Jack King doing a lot of movies he would do it like it's like a marketed skit to promote his style, right?
Hmm.
But when you look at you look at Jet Li, look at Jackie Chan, right? They became very flexible martial art actors, whereby they don't just do the same style over and over. They were doing different styles along the way, right? That one movie they did together, both Jet Li and Jackie Chan, was almost a little bit comical. I felt sad for the kid actor 'cause I felt like it was like look like hating the character they played. They were hating that little boy. Like, man, look at this idiot, look at this punk. Like, and they were taking turns. And I was like, oh, I hate it when you had two masters who taking turns roasting your ass, putting you through the ringer, and make. And I know what I feel like. It's like, oh, but I can see the dynamic whereby if you put him in a fire match, it would have been great. But you put him in the movie, it would not. And
So
I'm being honest about it because think about it. There's a few times Jet Li and Jackie Chan have crossed each other in different movies, and they have portrayed different character. But the character have a particular style, and they are to be flexible with it. Now, when have you ever seen Bruce Lee done a character that have a different style that's not Jet Kune Do?
good point.
You get what I'm saying?
Very good point.
He was very rigid with it. And the honorable mention, Donnie Yen, he mentioned it before because there's a lot of movies out there whereby they pick martial artists who are flexible to mimic a particular style based on a character, and they had to learn it on the fly. And those who went to do wushu school in China are able to do so because one moment they wanted to do a particular style, you had to know exactly, you had to understand the fundamental behind it for a particular movie. That's why I have an issue with American movies. You look at American movies, right?
Hmm.
Certain styles, certain set, it's like the same. You can almost see the same thing over. They don't have to be flexible. When you have these martial arts actors who have to fight in a very unique style that's not their own style, they have to retrain themselves to know that style basic fundamental before they put it out there. So to watch Bruce Lee and Jackie Chan or Jet Li get to a spy match will always be great, but if you put them in a movie, I don't know. I don't think Jet Li would see himself being flexible because he want to hold his own if it's the best of the best. And I remember watching that movie from Jet Li, Fist of Legends. That particular character talk about being flexible, be adapted, and that right there, I don't think anybody noticed it. But when it comes to martial art, you got to be flexible. And all these martial art
More
movies,
than anybody, trust me.
and all these martial art, if you're not a flexible actor who can learn within a short period of time a different style and portray that particular character, then they'll have no use for you in that movie. No matter how big you are, it has to
So
be a
before we
certain
go
way.
too far ahead, the one student that he promoted Jeet Kune Do the most, that he actually was a cameo, very small scene. You have to look for him to know it was Jerry Porter. He
Poteet,
oh,
Jerry Poteet.
thank you, Portit. So he had a small scene after the high school fight. I think was it? No, not the high school fight. The college fight. Has and there no actually after the big fight he actually after his back injury it was everybody's behind him and like it was going with Bruce Lee and he's right there following him. And if you know who
Yeah,
you're looking for, you miss it completely.
yeah. He actually trained Jason Scott Lee in that role. You talk about like in the Bruce
Correct.
Lee story. He's the one who actually trained him.
Correct. And he actually passed away recently, and not recently,
Yeah,
but
not too long ago. Yeah,
2012, January 2012. It doesn't say reason actually. He was 75 when he passed. He doesn't say death, but he was one of the original what's called man, my brain is froze. Students of Bruce Lee who taught. He learned everything from him.
yeah,
He knew him back at his. They were great guy. They were together for hours. Like my instructor, like when you train with somebody so long, you you cannot know somebody if that makes sense.
yeah.
Paul, you were going to say something. I'm sorry,
No, you good. You good.
Davey. Okay, let me ask you this question: if Bruce Lee was still around, you think? I have my own opinion about this. I know I already came about. I won't give it again. Do you think he would be a fan of UC and mixed martial arts?
I think so. I mean, look, Dana White acknowledges that he believes Bruce Lee is actually the founder of mixed martial arts.
I agree, 100%.
He gives him that deference. So I definitely think, if anything else, he would have wanted Bruce to be a part or associated with mixed martial arts. coming into it. But yeah, I mean, it includes all the the elements, the boxing, the wrestling, the martial arts, all those disciplines. I think he would, although Bruce, I don't know if he was necessarily thinking about it from a sports point of view. I mean, his philosophy was always about like for the streets, combat in the streets. So he was always about uh, hitting the eyes and kicking to the groin and things of that nature. So I don't know how he would have felt about when you're trying to make a sport out of martial arts. I know he wasn't a fan, for example, of the martial arts of the day, like the point fighting that you saw in karate tournaments back then. He wasn't a fan of that kind of thing, because he definitely liked actual real combat. In fact, Joe Louis, he was the guy who launched like PKA kickboxing in the United States. He's the one who kind of launched that off. Not to say he's not the only guy. I know you always had what do you call it in the Philippines? They have the what do you call it geez, what's the real brutal style, the one where they're constantly throwing kicks to your knees and all that kind of stuff. What is that called? Martial art called?
Shit. Not Tai Chi.
That's like real brutal. They do elbow strikes and all that kind of stuff, and
I think it's
Thai boxing.
I think my brother totally took a shit on that one.
Yeah. I mean, that's some brutal stuff. So Bruce was more like in that camp, when it came to fighting, but point fighting he wasn't a fan of. Not sure how we would have liked UFC, especially what it's morphed into today. But I certainly think that Dana White certainly would have made sure he had a welcome invitation if he wanted to promote to be a part of it. I mean, even think about it. I mean,
He
Bruce
would
would have been.
he would have, but where I'm looking at it right now, the only promotion that would have draw Bluetooth attention would be one championship. Probably FT would have been what Bluetooth would have loved to be into, but the way they rig it, he would not like it. But one
You said
championship,
one or K1?
no, it's one championship. That's what they call it. The new promotion that was run by
Okay.
actual
Okay.
martial artists.
Got it.
That one is not it getting way more traction than UFC right now because they're getting real martial artists. You're not getting people who are hiddenly juicing themselves to win fights or cheating to win. They're not having that.
Yeah.
That
So
was one
here's
of
the
the
thing.
weird problem of UFC.
I mentioned this on our gray area show when we did the martial art episode, if you remember. So there were three founders in mixed martial arts. Bruce Lee was number one. He was the most famous one. Master Ray Kazaka, my instructor, he was a former martial art. And Master V Onish, he was also a mixed martial arts. So those are the three founders. Who started first? That is a whole different debate. So now, Bruce Lee, if he was around, I think he would be disgusted at where the UFC is because how it is promoted and how it is. He won't be a fan of it. He might be a fan of it with a paycheck because at the end of the day, it is a business. Let's be straight up here, guys. So, saying that, I think he would have. I think the sport might have taken a different direction if he was still around. It won't be gone in the same direction because without that big face backing it, Dana White wouldn't have no one near. Now Bruce Lee's dead. Obviously, he doesn't have the back, and he still did it. But Bruce Lee was alive. It won't be the same. Even if he still went the opposite direction like he did, without Bruce Lee's face on the stamp or approval, no way. I don't see nowhere near as big. We'll be talking about boxing instead versus anything else.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think as far as his impact on the sports aspect of martial arts, again, I think. Well, honestly, it depends. I mean, I don't know if he would have what he would have done because I know obviously I think like I said earlier, I think for the next 10 years, at least through the early 80s, I think he certainly would have been in the films. So in the 80s, you had PKA kickboxing and whatnot. I know you had the world karate tournaments in Japan and whatnot. You had those things. So I don't know if like in the 90s, okay, so let's say he's in his 50s in the 90s or whatever, would he have returned to teaching or being an ambassador or whatever? I don't know what his obviously what his long-term vision was. I knew his vision in Hollywood or whatever. He was just determined to be like a big international movie star. That was his thing. He wanted to be the Schwarzenegger of his day. You know what I mean? Or the Stallone of his day.
I think
So
he would.
whether or not he would have returned to the philosophical or the teaching or opening, again, even with his schools, he never intended. I think he early on he had these plans that he wanted to open up like these chains of martial arts schools like McDonald's or whatever. But then he realized
Yeah,
that
McDojo.
in order to really teach Jeet Kune Do the way he wanted, it had to be small. It had to be very small. I mean, back then he was charging $275 an hour to certain individuals, especially to the Hollywood community, to teach in the 70s. So again, you certainly his time was going to be definitely be at a premium. Would he have continued to certify people? Like, would he have continued to certify Dan Inosanto and some of those early students of his in order to maybe teach other people? Would he have kind of did that? I don't know, because one of the things also with Jeet Kune Do is, and Bruce would even tell you this himself, and Dan definitely backs this up, it's not a style.
It's
It's
not. It's a
Jeet Kune
self-defense.
Do was his personal martial art because it kept changing. Like Dan would say, like the Jeet Kune Do he learned in the late 60s is very different from the Jeet Kune Do he learned in the early 70s because he was always adding something to it. He would learn Salat. He would study Salat. He would study wrestling. He would study Thai boxing and just different things. He was always doing it for himself. And even Dan Inosanto said that there's certain aspects of Jeet Kune Do that you can't do because he was such a freak athlete. Like the one thing you always heard about Bruce Lee was how fast he was. And like a
Stupid
lot of those
fast.
moves that he did, like his lead punch with his right hand, because he always like his setup, like in boxing, if you're right-handed, your right hand is back for power, and you use your jab. But Bruce, he turned it around. His lead right, since he was right-handed, he led with his right, and he could tag you with his right. So he put the strong side forward, and he would tag you, just that leading punch. There's only certain guys who can pull that off. He was one of them. He also talked about his trapping, like Wing Chun trapping. Dan said that's very difficult to do in a fight, but Bruce Lee could pull it off because of how fast he was. In sparring, or you go in, when Wing Chun they do the hand stuff and the trapping drills and all that kind. You
Yeah,
could do it
trust me,
there,
I've
but
done
to
that.
try to
100 of
trap
them.
in a fight is very difficult. The timing has to be uh, um, so precise. Bruce Lee had those things. So there's certain aspects of Jeet Kune Do that you simply cannot learn. And even Dan Inosanto admitted that he probably only used about 40% of what Bruce Lee told him because the rest of it had to be him. So again, Dan being Filipino, he spent a lot of time in the Filipino Kali, stick fighting. And in fact, you saw him in his movies. He always did some stick fighting thing in his movies because that's his background,
Yeah,
Filipino Kali.
Arnish. That's what it's called. Arnish.
Arnis, yeah, exactly. So again, you can only use certain aspects. So I think the question then is, what would Jeet Kune Do would have looked like in the 80s or the late 70s or 80s had
Or
Bruce
even
lived?
today.
It might have been very different than the early iterations that was there. So I think Jeet Kune Do is more so a philosophy, more so than a martial art.
So, a couple of things I want to hit point. When you're talking about Wing Chun, because I did a lot of Wing Chun over the years, believe it or not. So like I said, my martial arts instructor was half Chinese and half Japanese. So Wing Chun was one of his backgrounds.
Right.
We never did it on the doll because I asked him, I was like, "Hey, Master Ray, why don't we use the doll ever?" He had it up front when he first entered the lobby, like a bunch of decoration martial arts stuff, right? He goes, "Let me ask you a question." He goes to me, "Does wood hit back?" I'm like, "No, why?
Yeah.
What's the point?" So what he used to do with us is one of us go our back against the wall, and one person used to throw punches, first slow and faster, okay? Once you got it down and everything, then you used to start throwing hellmakers. I mean, hard as you can, hard, and then he clap his hand. When you clap his hand, you move forward or backwards, whatever direction he had you that day, because sometimes you're back, whatever. and you're practicing Wing Chun like that, and
Right.
trap the wing, elbows. I'm like, the first 1,000 times, maybe, I got nailed pretty hard.
Right.
Eventually, I picked it up. Even you, as a no martial artist, I can sit down. I can teach you few things,
Hmm.
and you say, "Okay, I got it," but you don't ever get it. Wing Chun is such a hard stuff to learn. It takes years and years and years to master it.
Right. Right.
Even myself, that I have trained 95% of my life, I still have no. I can't even say I'm a master. I can't even say okay with it. I'm like, that's all I can say. It's not even a word for it. I'm like, if I had a put maybe okay, I can teach it, but I'm not master. I can't go boom, 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 boom. No, nothing like that. Now Bruce Lee, I'm like, I would not want to be caught getting his elbow strikes.
Mm.
They're probably punching a fucking metal bracelet. You're on mute, David. You're on mute, dude. Keep talking to yourself.
David, you muted. If you're talking.
So getting hit by his or blocking it is like blocking a metal baseball bat. And that's being nice about it too. Go ahead, David. You're up.
I'm glad you mentioned that part about Bruce Lee because here was his master did. I remember here reading an article about it. His master knew what Bruce Lee was trying to do, but the problem with Bruce Lee, he had an issue with training with the wooden dummy, right? So what his philosophy was, you don't need a wooden dummy to train.
Right.
Now, for those who understand Bruce Lee's actual matter, it meant the wooden dummy was no regular thing that you could just overlook because in a way, he didn't realize he was learning something from what his master was trying to do without the wooden dummy, but the wooden dummy sometimes perfected it because for people who are trained with wooden dummy for so many years, it's a level of conditioning, right? The wooden dummy is no regular wood. Now, anyone who are trained with a wooden dummy before or even touched it will tell you that wood is hard. It's very hard and it hurts over the period of
Oh,
time. If
trust
you
me, I
think
know.
about it, right? So imagine training on that dummy 20 years nonstop, consistent, never took a break. You will not feel anything, but for some apparent reason, the movement starts to become natural thing because, for one, I think my center was telling me something about your body move before you think it. It's all about the reaction. That was what we were trying to acquire or accomplish without going to with a dummy thing. Now, when I did Situate Karate, when I was doing the same type of training and I was doing that thing over the way, at some point I started to grab what was going on. Certain things you would do without your mind telling you, it's like your body already sensed it and will react based on that. But there's two different philosophies: either train with a dummy, don't train with a dummy. And each path is different. It's not the same, which you already know that already. And what Jet Li was trying to prove, I'll be honest though, even though the movie they did, Donnie Yen did, it's almost like Bruce Lee was trying to get the approval from Ip Man, say he had to pass him, but he never did.
The thing of being a master, you never outpass it. So here's the thing: when you train with a doll or anything, even if somebody sits there and says you pay on your back and get punched, your skin gets harder and harder and harder. My instructor, his knuckles, he used to wrap his hands, and I do that too. After a while, when I started teaching, is when he used to go like this, a little tap, a love tap. That would give you such a headache. A migraine, you wish you got a migraine. That is the worst of your problems. And I always ask him, Master Ray, why do you wrap your hands and we are not allowed? And he goes, you really want to know? I'm like, yeah. Are you sure? He goes, man, I was like 15. I'm like, yeah. He goes, but, well, ow, what the fuck? I'm like, it was the worst pain. I like cursed him out like, you fucking old piece of shit. I went to him. He goes, that's why I wrap my hands up. He goes, my hands are so conditioned, it's not even funny. And by conditioning, you don't feel things. Like,
Yeah.
that's the sickening part. Like,
Mm.
I remember like fucking around with my friends, and I got punched in the arm. And goes, dude, I am so sorry. I didn't mean to hit you that hard. Like, what do you mean? I didn't
And
feel
that's
anything.
the thing. So imagine training with a Wing Chun dummy like that over and over. It numbing areas whereby when it comes to blocking, you don't feel it, but the condition of your skin and your arm and your bone, it's almost like you have a bat blocking another bat.
All right.
I give you a
And that's
better
what
Let
people
me
need to
example.
ask you
realize.
guys, since you guys are you mentioned conditioning on multiple occasions. Long term health, is that even healthy?
Probably not.
You know what I mean? I
It's
mean, it's like you're deadening essentially sensation in parts of your body
I put it this way,
when
Paul.
you're a young guy, but when you're like into your 60s, 70s, and 80s, is that going to come back and bite you at some point,
Absolutely,
doing all that kind
absolutely,
of damage to yourself? Because the
absolutely.
body wasn't meant for that.
Yeah, I could put it this way. Like this is the one I always hated when I instructor to slap. Meaning slap. He used to sit there and slap little slaps, and then he would get harder and harder. When he got into your black belt level, you ever see those slap competitions?
Yeah,
That's how he
which
used
is
to
the
hit us.
dumbest thing. Which is the dumbest thing
I'm
ever.
not
I'm
disagreeing with that. Like I was literally joking with somebody, where one of our another student that was under Master Ray, and they go, "Yo, Master Ray, because we're so good at this. I'm like, we should enter this. Like, are you serious? Like, dude, we got hit by Master Ray. You think that's gonna knock us out? Wait for us to win this whole thing." And I go,
mhm.
"You do have a good point there, but no." But he usually wound up. Whoa! And like I remember getting hit. I'm like, I thought he knocked my fucking teeth out.
Mhm.
But you get knocked out. You wish you were knocked out. His
Right,
hands were so conditioned. It wasn't even funny. The callus on him was so
right,
hard. Like he cut me a couple times. I'm not gonna lie to you. Is
mhm.
it good for your long term health? Absolutely not. I
Right,
know Master Ray was probably having a lot of issues with his skin at the point. I remember his
mhm.
hands were always hurting. He died at 75. So his hands were always hurting. His knees were hurting. His back was hurting. Not to the point he couldn't move, but this. He was aching and paining.
Right.
Yeah.
and this is
So
thing
he
had to
went.
do with diet. I think you got a great point on that. And there's another thing. When it comes to these conditioning you go through, also the diet also apply to it. Like what kind of food are you eating that have to repair these damage over time?
Mhm.
Look at it. The way I look at it, the diet in China and Japan is not the same as the diet in the US. So let's be frank right here. The food are fresh over there. The food we have
Mhm.
here are heavily processed.
Mhm.
So I would rather live in Japan or China and train them knowing that I will have a little longer health than most than being over here and you have these fast foods that you be eating or these processed food whereby your body's not getting the actual nutrition you're supposed to be getting. I think that's another factor people not paying attention to because let's be honest with real. The people in Japan and China were living much, much longer than most people over here in the US with what they eating. That play a part.
Well,
My
I
sensei
don't know.
taught me that thing.
I mean, if you look at the death rates in China versus or Asia versus here, I don't think they're much different. I think certainly it becomes more of a quality of life issue. I mean, like I don't know, like when those
Before
dudes do
no,
they.
before the pandemic, the issue was food with China. That
Mhm.
was the issue, the normal issue I have. In Japan, there was no issue with the way people were living longer, but people were not having kids.
Yeah.
That was the issue with Japan. People were living longer in Japan, but they weren't having kids. That was the issue. China is the base of overpopulation, but it's more so the communist country was kind of like ratcheting the food based on classism. Who can get what? Because there was a huge contradiction in how they ruled their country. So they set themselves up for that.
Right.
Because almost slightly no different
So I'll
from
give you a better
from North
example.
Korea.
The oldest Japanese man lived to be 120. I'm sorry, 164.
I don't believe that.
You don't know.
I
You don't have
mean,
no. You don't have to believe it. But here's the thing, though. I tell people, come to New York City, come to Chinatown early in the morning. You see these old folk in their 40, 50, 60, 70 doing Tai Chi early in
oh,
the
no
morning.
doubt, no doubt. But
They're, they're,
I think the Guinness Book of World Records, the oldest person is like 120, maybe 122, 164 seems a little far fetched, and it's tough to prove because back then you didn't necessarily have birth records the way they do now. So I mean, I think the test is going to come from this point on. But 164, I think that's a
I
stretch.
can't actually believe that, Paul, because the diets are completely different. Your lifestyle was
bingo.
different. You didn't have all these steroids getting pumped in your fucking body. You didn't have to
That
take
is
all these
true.
vitamins. You just get sun, D3, fish oil.
And
You
that's
just
the
live
number
in a.
one factor.
I'm sorry.
The dietary. The dietary in Japan is not the same as the dietary in the US. US food is actually killing you slowly. compared to the food they eat in Japan, it's actually trying to keep you live much longer.
Yeah. Okay, Paul. Let me ask you this question: as a personal trainer, do you think where you live, Greece, UK, it doesn't matter, or in another world, does it affect your everyday life, like as a trainer trying to get in physical health?
What effects?
Diet, a region of diet you're in.
I think absolutely, especially if you want to get stronger. I mean, I think the whole idea of, at least the way I train people, is you're going to be doing muscle tears and damage that needs to be repaired.
Mm-hmm.
You repair that with the right nutrition. That's how you recover. That's how the muscle gets stronger, and that you can train harder the next time. So I think diet is definitely important. But the one thing, you don't even have to go to diet. Think of any immigrant to the United States that you can think of. More times than not, the kids that they have in the States are typically bigger, they're taller, and a lot of times they're, even in a lot of ways, some ways, healthy. Now, some people used to attribute it to the hormones, like in the milk, and then because, again, a lot of these countries, especially I knew folks who came from India, for example, they said like milk was like a premium, like you just think that you could just go into a store and just get a gallon of milk, like that's no big deal. But when Indians came here, like milk was like a big deal. So the kids were able to get more dairy products and meat products that, were at a premium in some of these other countries that don't have access to that stuff the way we do here. The portion sizes are bigger here. So in almost all instances, like you came over here, like an average man would be 5'7" and his wife 5'3", 5'4". The kids are like over 5'7", 5'8" by the time they're 13, 14 years old. It's definitely, it's so I definitely think that the food product here, or the abundance of it, certainly has an issue. Now, again, in terms of your longevity at the end of your life, I mean, certainly a lot of these populations have issues later. I mean, with Indians, their big thing, they use a lot of oil. And so at the end of their lives or whatnot, cardiovascular disease and whatnot are big deals over there. Less so in Asia than here. I don't know. I guess they always talk about the Mediterranean, how that food is generally healthier here. There's not a lot as much processed food or fast food here. I think certainly long term, an excessive consumption of those things can be a bit too much. But again, it depends. How much of that stuff is a staple of your diet. I think the body's pretty resilient and it can eat a lot of things.
You just
Now,
hit it nail. You just hit it what I was
story I
trying
always heard was Jack LaLanne. If you guys remember, like Jack LaLanne, right? Lived to 95. Guy with he was like the fitness pioneer for everybody. He was doing stuff in the 50s. Big guy. He was swimming off the shores of New York, dragging boats in his 90s and all this kind of stuff. He had a brother who didn't do any of that stuff. No special diet to be considered or whatever, just a regular lifestyle. The guy lived to be 97. So I think to an extent you can do only so much. At some point it becomes about the quality of life that you have, and you got to start to measure, especially once you turn 50 and up. You start seeing some things. Like me, I had to cut down on a lot of carbs in my diet naturally, because carbs led to a lot of inflammation, especially in my joints, my wrists. If I eat too much sugar or processed foods, breads and whatnot, I start getting pain in my joints. So I eat a low carb diet generally because I feel better in my joints when I don't eat that many sugar. Now, a weekend like today, anything I want. I got what's that specialized burger? I had Shake Shack today. I had all kinds of stuff because that's my training day. So training day, I train hard, I train to failure, and I eat anything I want on Saturday. And Father's Day tomorrow, I'm going to enjoy that. Monday, though, I get back on my diet. So for me, it's 5 days a week where I eat pretty disciplined, keep the carbs very low, under 100 grams of carbs a day. But on the weekends, I eat anything I want. So my thing, I have an 80-20, I have an 80-20 rule. I said, eat well 80% of the time, 20% have anything you want. So if you look at the course of a year, that's 283 days of eating clean. That's 70, almost 80 days out of the year where you can eat anything you want. So again, take 1 day a week to eat anything you want. So your weekends, Go out with your wife, go out, have a good time, eat anything you want. Then throw in your birthdays, your holidays, your Christmas, your Thanksgiving, and all, eat anything you want. The problem is with a lot of people, they can't get back on the grind. So for a lot of people, they have to say, well, I can't eat any of that stuff at any time because I know if I start eating it, then I'll just overconsume it. It's like, it's like an addict. You just can't, sugar's addictive. So they don't know when to get off. But a disciplined person, if you have mastery over it, said, look, if I choose to have it, I do. And when I don't, I'm good. So you have to be able to have the discipline in terms of when it's too much. I think I truly believe a person can have anything: alcohol, sugars, red meat. I think you can have anything that you want as long as it's in moderation and that you're not overdoing things too much. So you can only you can try to add a couple more years to your life, or you can certainly try to add healthier years to your life. But I think exercise is a component to that. You can't just necessarily eat your way to it. The body has to have a reason for the foods that you're eating. So again, creating a need for protein and carbs and sugars. Again, that's the great thing about weight strength training. When you train for strength training, you actually build up a demand for carbohydrates, and especially simple sugar, especially after a hard workout. You need simple sugars after the workout. So if you want to have something, tasty or whatever, after, that's the best window in order to have it. But generally speaking, I'm not an advocate of, okay, you got to eat the same way all year round. No, have your times where you can kind of take a break from stuff. And then what'll also happen is the times that you're doing it most of the time, you'll appreciate those foods, those cheat foods even more when you have them. But a lot of times, if you're eating too much of something, it's like a sugar fix. You need more of the fix, more of it in order to feel the same fix than you did last time. And so I definitely, again, 80% of the time, try to eat as well as you can. I salute David. Certainly, we'll see. Hopefully, we'll see you on tomorrow's show. Definitely, I have some questions for you, especially for Nigerian culture. I'd like to be in on that discussion. We're going to be talking about death tomorrow, so certainly I appreciate a cultural perspective from you. So we'd love to have you. You can stop on through to even hop on with us tomorrow when we talk about that subject tomorrow. So hopefully, if you could be there to not only run the show in the background but also join us, I'd appreciate your cultural perspective on
Yeah,
that.
as always, thank you for coming in. It was a pleasure, and I see you tomorrow night. So make sure you
Salute, sir.
fold those thongs really well.
All right, but Mandrell's in the building. And how you
What's
doing
up, my
tonight,
man?
sir?
How you been?
Doing all right. How you guys doing? Am I that
Doing
late?
it?
Sound like
I'm
you're about
sorry.
to close out.
No, we're not closing out. We got another 30 minutes. So let's
Okay.
okay. We're talking about Bruce Lee versus Jackie Chan versus Jet Li. What's your opinion?
In what regard?
Martial arts.
As in who would win in a fight?
Uh, it, yeah, let's talk about a fight for a second here. What would your opinion is? Who would you think if it was like a tournament, all three were in it? Who would you think would be the winner of the tournament?
Hmm.
It's a hard one, isn't it?
Not really. It would be between Jackie and Bruce.
You think so?
Definitely.
Why do you think that?
No question. No question at all. It's a matter of training. Jet Li was trained in the wushu style of kung fu.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
So wushu is more performative nowadays.
Yes.
It's not for combat
Yeah.
at all. Bruce Lee trained in Wing Chun, so have I. So I can speak from this from personal experience with Wing Chun. It's more geared towards fighting, but it's not very practical on its own. It's very limited on its own.
Correct. I agree. I trained
Bruce
myself.
Lee, Bruce Lee discovered this and started taking up other things like boxing, wrestling. You know what I'm saying? Other forms of martial arts, judo, jujitsu. He discovered that you can't commit to one style in order to be a good fighter, and his goal was to learn how to fight, which makes him the more practical one. Jackie Chan grew up in the Peking School of Martial Arts, right?
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that's a lot of stuff. a lot. They learned a lot of martial arts in that school, along with singing, dance, gymnastics. So he would be the most athletic. If you're talking about them in their prime, Jackie would be the most athletic. Um, in a fight, though, I would have to say the edge would have to go to Bruce,
Yeah.
simply because of the mindset, if nothing else, and
Yeah.
his approach to the
100%.
endeavor, and his
Yeah.
approach to the whole exchange. The edge has to go to Bruce for me.
I
Jackie
agree.
has the weight advantage. Now, here's the thing, Groom. I want to say this to you. There's a fight between Tyson Fury and Alexander Usyk. When I
Hmm.
watched it, it reminded me of you. It's like, okay, this is a picture perfect example of how size doesn't necessarily guarantee victory. And that's a point that you made in another conversation we had when I was
I
asked, do I
still
think the
stick to
size
that.
matter? I said, yes. I think it does matter. It definitely matters. It gives you certain advantages, but it does. But I agree with you that it doesn't guarantee victory. Doesn't, and a lot of people mistake that.
But when you say size, is that on a relative scale, especially in a sport like boxing, like the differential between 140-pound fighter versus 147 versus two heavyweights over 220? Do you still think that
It's
that
definitely
disparity in
relative.
size is the same, or do you think it matters more at the smaller weight divisions?
Um, Again, if let's be reasonable here. You know what I mean? I'm not being. I don't want to be ridiculous, but if someone has a 50-pound weight advantage on you, don't kid yourself. You're in danger.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? You're in trouble. So like someone 140 pounds versus 147, you're not as in danger as you would be against a heavyweight if you're a welterweight fighting against, say, a
Right.
middleweight.
Yeah.
You know
Yeah.
what I'm
Like I
saying?
said,
You're
I'm
not
just
in as much danger.
sliding. Right. I'm just sliding the weights up. So you take that 50 pounds that you're talking about. Right. So a 140-pound guy against a cruiserweight, that's 50 pounds
Yeah, you're in
versus
danger.
a heavyweight who's at 220 fighting a guy who's 270. Do
So,
you
Paul, my
think those are
counter
equivalent or are
argument,
they about the same?
my
They're
counter
equivalent.
argument
But
goes
at
like
Okay.
that
this.
point,
All right.
again, he's a heavyweight, so you're gonna take a lot of damage. You know what I'm saying? The damage is gonna be much more from, even though they're two heavyweights. That's still that weight difference, man. That's a dude. That's still a guy who the weight difference isn't that bad, but that's still a guy who's 270 pounds hitting you in the head.
Yeah.
I'm not
You know what I'm
arguing that
saying?
part.
If they can
My
hit you,
argument
my
statement
only.
is,
Yeah.
hang on, Paul. My argument statement is, okay. Let's say Paul, for example, me and him got into it. He's, what are you, like 2 feet taller than me? We'll say,
Not quite.
but you're a lot taller than me. So he has. If I take that height advantage away, that's one. Two, if I was able to counter whatever punch, let's say he goes oh hail maker, maybe I go into a reverse throw into it. I just took everything away. He's on the ground. Now I have the advantage. Like strength and height is not height and weight is not always the answer. It's who's the smartest fighter.
That's true. It's not always the answer, but like I said, it is an advantage.
I'm not
Now,
disagreeing
now,
with that.
now,
Yes,
here's
it is.
now with that advantage. My thing is, I agree with you that no matter what your advantage is, no matter what it is, height, weight, size, whatever, it does not guarantee victory because that smaller guy has advantages of his own.
Hmm.
Speed, stamina, flexibility. Those are the most common ones. And he could use those in ways to confuse you and get ahead in the fight. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
like I said, size and strength. Yeah, yeah, you have your advantages, but the other guy, the smaller guy, can use his advantages to balance things out.
Right.
You know what I
Like
mean? So,
I'll
But
use
my,
speed for
my my
example.
only other point to that would be, don't you think at some point size becomes, it's like a diminishing return?
yes, I can speak from personal experience. I had gotten up to 255 pounds before Paul.
At
255 at
5'8"?
5'8". Yep.
Mm.
Bro, there's no need. Okay, there's no need for me to be that big.
And
Because
that's
I mean,
where a lot
that,
of
that-
people are realizing bigger is not is always better. Like somebody who's small like myself, who can you can probably throw like a good five strong hellmaker destroying punches. But me, I can throw you 20 little punches that hit harder, and they're gonna hurt every strike. So you going from here, I'm going right here, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I said, 255 for me, too much.
That
I
sounds like
had
way too
stamina.
much.
Dude, I had stamina issues and all kind of stuff, man. I mean, it was like it was hard to breathe.
Right.
My mobility was gone. My
And a lot of guys
flexibility
you
was
could see, and you
gone.
could see the punches coming. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah,
It's
yeah,
so and that's why I was saying as far as the disadvantage, like as you get bigger, like there haven't been that many like Tyson Fury is almost like a bumblebee to an extent, for at least certainly early in his career. How can a guy be that big, still be that kind of? He had that kind of jerky kind of style that kind of made work for him. Even though he's a bigger man, he almost fought smaller. He didn't necessarily use his size all the time to win a fight. It was anything that style didn't allow you to set up. But most bigger guys, once you hit like 250 and up, it's kind of a snooze fest. Like I used to hate watching the 250-pound heavyweights fight because they're just basically just two prodding bodies just to be hit,
yeah. Like
And I always
Rocky
saw the
Robot.
smaller guys. I mean, we talked about Deontay Wilder a couple weeks ago. The guy, when he fought Fury the first time, he was 209. Fighting got 270. Mike Tyson fought like 215 to 220, like in that range.
And 220 was too heavy for him.
Exactly. So again, fighting and beating bigger guys, not only height advantage, but again, 20 pounds easy on the guys he was fighting. Even Holyfield, a smaller guy, but when he fought these big guys, when he fought Riddick Bowe, I mean, a lot of Riddick Bowe's punches were like prodding. They didn't have the snap on them the way Holyfield's did. So yeah, I know he won the first fight, but then they kind of had they sort of went back and forth with that. But yeah, so I think the smaller at the heavyweight, that's what I'm saying. I don't know if it's as much of a factor because we've seen guys fight at heavyweight against bigger guys. Like I said, I think there's a diminishing return when you're 250 and up. You're just too slow at that point. Just the physical demands and trying to do that for 10 or 12 rounds, I think favors the little guy. But again, 140 to 147 or a lightweight fighting a welterweight. Now I would have to pick the welterweight in versus lightweight more times than not in that situation. Simply because I think the skill sets are I think the welterweight is going to be almost as fast and certainly have a lot more power.
I was about to say, you're talking about comparable speeds now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And the skill level, that depends on the individual. If you're talking about a Terrence Crawford, then, I mean, that's a whole nother ball of wax. But,
Let's use this for example. We all knew Bruce Lee was a pretty small guy. He wasn't like a humongous guy.
Who?
135, 140 at his biggest weight.
Who?
Yeah.
Bruce.
He was
like
135.
Yeah.
135,
he was fast, too. So add those combinations together, he had deadly techniques going behind that. He knew martial arts. He was fast. Plus, he was, small. And like, I'm not saying the small is always going to be an advantage. I'm just saying that does help.
I'm telling you, man. The thing is, you can't underestimate the smaller guy. You just can't.
Yeah. Let me ask you this question.
It's a big mistake to do that.
Yeah. Let me ask you this question. Somebody who's a huge fighting fan yourself, Bruce Lee, if he was alive today, how do you think he would feel how the UFC is today?
Today?
Yeah.
Trash.
I totally agree. I'm not going to disagree with you one bit.
Yeah, I think that's what I think that he would think of it. I think he would think it was trash. The thing is, not too many people watch the other fight promotions. Like one is fantastic.
David was talking about that before you came on. Yeah,
it was a great promotion. I think.
Yeah, one is fantastic. They had a fight card last week, in fact, where even one of the Rotolo brothers got into his first mixed martial arts match. I don't think you guys don't watch jiu-jitsu, so y'all don't know about the Rotolo brothers and their greatness. But well, you do, but a lot of people don't. But what's his name? Yeah, he had his first MMA match, Cade Rotolo, and he won. But that fight card, they had MMA, mixed martial arts. They had a jujitsu match. They had no, I'm sorry, not just one. They had jujitsu matches for titles, and they had Muay Thai kickboxing matches, like all on the same fight card, all in one night, Paul. And it was all on Amazon Prime for free. If you have Amazon Prime.
I do. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
I'll
You
check it
could
out.
you can probably go back and watch it.
See the replay. Yeah.
It was good. I know you're not gonna know who any of these people are, but it's okay if you like to watch a fight. You'll be entertained. It's good. It's something to
What's it
get
called
into.
again? Just
One.
one
Yeah,
O
ONE.
N E.
Yep. It's fantastic because it's like it's not just boxing, it's not just Muay Thai, it's not just jujitsu, not just MMA. There's different fighting styles on the same fight card in the same
But
night.
it's generally considered an MMA. I'm just saying for the search, it's generally considered an MMA promotion. If I
I
type
don't
in
think so,
one,
man. Because the only time I watched it was when I found out about it. I started doing Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, and that's how I found out about it. I was like, okay,
okay,
and how are
yeah.
people
See
winning
now,
titles and stuff with this? I mean, that's how I found out about the Abu Dhabi ADCC. I found out about one. You know what I mean? There's a lot of different fight promotions that I was unaware of. I'm just
yeah,
used to, I was like, wow,
yeah,
because
I'm actually looking up right now. It's called
yeah.
One Championship.
Look up MMA because I just pulled it up. I just saved the last card from the 167. So I just got it now. But yeah, if you type in one and then MMA, it comes up. When I put in just one, nothing came
Yeah,
up.
first thing comes out is it's One FC. That's what .com. That's it's called. If anybody's looking, actually, I'm gonna put it in the chats for anybody who's wanting to check it out.
yeah, there's that one. I remember. Now I don't know if you guys remember Pride Fighting Championships.
I do.
Yeah,
Yeah, that was fantastic. That's what Bruce Lee would have wanted. That. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Just the ridiculousness. Like, okay, here are two men who are obviously trying to kill each other, and you're not going to convince me of anything else. You
Mhm.
know what I mean? Like, Bob Sapp would get in there, and it's like, okay,
Well, that's
this
my
dude is
example.
clearly on roids.
Yeah,
Why are you here? You know what I
yeah.
mean? Why?
But
Why is
that's
this
my example
allowed?
because who was that guy Osterroos or what was his name? The other black Dutch fighter. So
Hmm.
Roos or Osterroos or something like that.
Yeah, yeah,
And I
you got it
think
right.
yeah, and
Australia.
I think he beat he beat him. But again, you could tell the guy was gassed after 2 rounds.
Yeah.
I
But
mean,
he had too much weight on him, dude. It
yeah,
was too much. Here's the thing: you have to carry all that weight. That's what. Now, here's the thing:
exactly.
I've never, when I was 255, I've never lifted more weight in my life. You know what I'm saying?
Mm,
I was hitting the bench press. I was doing dumbbell curls. Man, dumbbell curls with 70 pounds in each arm,
mm,
and it's ridiculous strength, man. Super
yeah,
freaking human. I'm doing 405 for reps.
yeah,
Superhuman strength. However, when it was time to roll and spar, when it's time to roll and it was time to spar, halfway in the round, bro, it wasn't worth it. It's not
mm,
worth it.
yeah,
Listen, if you can outlast me for 3 minutes and I'm that gassed, no, it's not worth it. Let me
right,
let some of this go and keep the skill and speed
yeah,
and just have really good strength. You know what I mean?
right.
Because if I'm
So
bench pressing,
what is a good so for you? And again, I guess it depends on the sport. So you're primarily MMA right now, or you still box, or
I still box, but
so
primarily I do
what is your
MMA.
ideal weight? What is your ideal
Ideal
weight
weight
where you're at
is
your fastest, sharpest, strongest, like that sweet spot combination between size,
oh
speed,
yeah,
and skill?
between
210?
190 and 195.
Okay, so even lighter. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
if you're talking about the sweet spot, like perfect,
Mm,
it's like I'm perfectly balanced at 195.
hmm.
Perfectly balanced.
Right.
But if you're talking about like what I would go into a fight with, between 205 and 210 at the most, no more than
Hmm.
210.
Hmm.
I think the sweet spot there is for heavyweight for me is 208.
Right. Right.
That's about
So
it. But see there I can really crack heads at 208.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, did you
my instructor,
train?
my
Go
instructor
go.
had a little trick when before tournaments came around, about 3 to 6 months out. We used to go to boot camp mode, if you want to put it. So when we spar, we didn't spar like regular. We used to put weight vests on.
Mm.
And I looked at him like, this is insanity, because the theory behind it, and it works. You spar for say 4 minutes. I mean 4 rounds for 3 minutes. I'm just throwing numbers out there, right? If that weight does not give you gas you out, then you're good. Now, by the time the tournament comes around, you can go literally almost go 2, 4, 5 rounds now without the vest. You see the theory what I'm talking about? And it makes sense. Think about it. You're sparring with a weight vest the whole time for 6 months straight. Fight night comes on, you don't need that weight vest because you're obviously going to be in a fight. You're not going to be gassed out. You're going to be more. You have more energy than anybody. That's one thing he was really smart at how to get us prepared for our fights. I give him credit for that.
Yeah, the condition is. I think a lot of people, including fighters today, overlook the conditioning. They think they're conditioning correctly, but they're not. You have to
Mm.
mix up the training to be properly conditioned. Like boxers, a lot of them only do road work. Distance running. That's cool, but you have any idea how much better you'd be if you ran sprints twice or 2 or 3 times a week? Like I mean, because I did it, and that was my edge. Like I just did not get tired. I did not get winded.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? Because I was running. And the thing is, when I think about my training, and I was able to put it in contrast to other people, I was doing sprints. And when I think about it, I'm like, I'm out there doing sprints like 20, maybe 30 minutes at the longest.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like that's as much time as I use doing sprints because you're not going to sprint forever.
So, did you prefer sprints to traditional road work, like
Absolutely.
5, 6 miles? You
Absolutely.
rather just be
Oh,
out there 30 minutes, run your
yes, be
sprints,
done.
and get out of there.
That's my preference, but you still need the road. you
You
still,
still
I,
need the road work.
I
Yeah.
hated distance running.
Hmm.
Hated it with a passion. I had to learn how to be a distance runner. I've always been a sprinter naturally my whole life.
Hmm.
Distance running just wasn't my thing, dude. I sucked at it. You know,
See,
and
road
Plus, you
doesn't
pay a
make
price
it
for
doesn't
that
make
down
me
the
really
line, though. I
sweat.
mean, you talk
yeah,
about the joints and the the feet and all that that you get from that running, especially on pavement. Um, there's
the
a
wear
price
and
you're gonna
tear.
pay. Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot of wear and tear there, but also, man, it's boring.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
Yeah, for
saying? But
sure.
yeah, thank God for smartphones and YouTube nowadays because that's what I use for my steady state cardio. I get on like
Absolutely.
Art Trainer or something like that,
Yeah.
and I'll just go
That's
in.
a good machine. I like
Yeah,
that. I haven't used one in a while, but when I
Which
did
one?
have access to one, that was a good machine.
yeah, it is. I like it. I
Yeah.
turned the resistance up
Or
to
even the one what's the bikes that have the arms that you can row at the same time, the air bikes.
yeah.
Those are kind of good too. Now, if you want to do sprints on those, I've worked on those. Those are good. So I would do again that 30-second all out pedaling as well as with the arms and then taking the brakes and doing that sort of thing. I mean, that's a decent that's a decent because the whole body's not it's not just the feet. It's like the whole body's involved.
Yeah.
So the rower does not. I don't break sweat on that. The one that kicks my ass, and I think that's the best one for me personally. The step master. I hate those fucking test step masters.
The what?
The stairmaster.
Okay. If you think that's an ass kicker, try out this machine called the Jacob's Ladder.
Oh, I have one in my gym. I know it
Yeah,
kicks my ass too.
I've seen that
I
too.
love
Yeah.
it. I love it.
Listen, bro. Paul, get on there, and I challenge you. Stay on it 5 minutes
Oh, I
nonstop.
believe you.
3.
That's a challenge.
I'll put $20 here when you pass more than 3 minutes.
I'm telling you, not your first time.
Yeah, for
Oh
sure.
my God. I
I
love that thing
barely.
though,
This
man.
is
I love it.
the old gym I used to be at. This is when I was in my peak condition. I mean, abs, rip, all that's nice, right? And my conditions were very well with martial arts. I survived a minute and a half. I'm like, holy fuck! So, Paul, you understand who invented this? It was a fighter to train
Mhm.
fighters,
Yeah.
and it's shaped on a ladder like they're climbing up a ladder.
Yeah.
and that's
I've
where
been on one.
Okay.
This has a demo. There was a gym that just opened up in my I think it was a UFC gym or something like that, and they had one, and I was certainly able to get on it. Yeah, so it definitely looked like a challenging device.
It is, but it's nothing to be afraid of.
Hmm.
It's fantastic cardio though, man. To me, to me, there is no better cardio machine
Maynard, let me
than
ask you a
that.
question on that. The machine, like the cardio you do on the Jacular versus the Stepmaster or it is a treadmill, it does m- more for less time, correct?
No, here's the thing with that. I don't think you should do cardio for time. Well, unless you're doing distance running, you can
Let
do
me
it for
rephrase that
time.
question. You do less time, burn more
Oh, for
calories.
less time. Yeah, for less time. No, because the thing is, you're not burning as many calories as you think you are if you're trying to do cardio for less time. You know what I mean? It's the same thing as people say, well, I'm burning calories when I lift weights. Yeah, but not as much as you think.
You still
And
need
I mean,
cardio.
nowhere near as much as you think. You know, you'll burn a decent amount of calories doing sprints, but are you going to burn as many calories doing sprints as you would an hour of steady state cardio? No.
Yeah. So I have a proposition for you. Next week, how about we have a show about training methods for fights?
We can do that. Yeah.
Yeah. 9:30 next Saturday. You're in.
Yeah. I'll make sure to like clear out my calendar for that one.
Okay.
All right.
So
I may be the, if you want, I can sort of be the interviewer if you have it,
yeah,
because
I was actually
you
about to
guys
say
have
that.
had experience in that space, so I could possibly be of aid in
Yeah,
that
I have you be the
capacity.
host. I'll be the background for once. Okay.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
Marion, you want to give me your final thoughts?
Me?
Yeah. Why not?
Final thought. Okay, Bruce Lee versus Jackie Chan.
Yeah.
Bruce Lee is definitely the icon. He's the guy. You know, he's the most memorable. He's the most iconic. Jackie Chan's a superstar as well, but is he timeless like Bruce Lee? I don't think he will be. He's left his mark on the world, yes, definitely, and it will be there for a while. But Bruce Lee is just like he inspired nearly everyone to start training in martial arts. You know what I mean? It's how do you get better than that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you know. So, but Jackie Chan is great too. I'm a big fan of his as well. I love Jackie Chan. You know, but for me, it's Bruce Lee, all the way.
Nice. 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 Thank you, my man. Paul, you're up, my man.
Well, I would have to agree. I think certainly in a straight up fight, I think he beats all three of those guys, him and Jet Li as well, because I think his mindset was that of a fighter. He grew up a fighter in Hong Kong. He was a gang member. Maybe people forget
Yeah,
that.
exactly. Wushu
so,
versus Wing Chun, like that's what the gangs were,
so,
dude.
so,
Back
so,
then.
yeah. So, I mean, a gang mentality is just way different than a martial art mentality. I mean, and I'm definitely more of the belief that just because of a martial artist, because you are a martial artist, doesn't mean you can fight.
Right.
And so I think Bruce would have that edge over someone else, and he also had a temper. So again, I mean, you guys could be like sparring, and if you tag him, he's gonna be like, okay, then that switch goes on, and I don't know how soon he could turn that off. So I would definitely give Bruce the edge on the fighting end. As far as impact, again, honestly, I didn't really get into Jackie Chan. Honestly, there was a period, and I talked about this Mandrell before the show started. Jackie Chan early on in the late '70s when he was doing like the Eagle Claw movies and whatnot, when he had
Making
that long
Pain,
hair.
Art of Shaolin, stuff like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the early stuff was great. Then in the '80s, he kind of got into that kind of comedic. Him and Sammo Hung, they kind of got into that comedic sort of martial arts I didn't
Mhm.
favor. But I appreciated more when Rush Hour came out. When Rush Hour came out, I appreciated how he was able to combine the stunt work and the comedy and stuff together and make that work. And then I went back and I looked at, certainly some other work of his.
Rumble in the Bronx and stuff like that.
Exactly. Yeah.
But he had a brand new resurgence of
Yeah.
popularity in the 90s. That's
Yeah,
when
well,
Rumble
I
was the
think
most
Rumble and
famous.
Bronx came out, I think, like in 94, 95, at least in the States anyway. And then Rush Hour came out like in 97, I think.
Yeah.
So,
There's
yeah.
one I want you to check out called Gorgeous.
Okay.
You don't have to watch
Gorgeous.
the whole movie if you don't watch like, but the fight scenes, the fight
Right.
choreography, oh my god.
Yeah. And
Fantastic.
as far as Jet Li, again, I became aware of Jet Li in Lethal Weapon 4.
I think
'Cause I don't,
everyone did.
I don't think anybody knew, like, who's this guy, whatever. And he became
You
like a sensation here.
oh,
Then
wait,
you went back and you watched Fist of
right.
Legend
But
and some of
but
those
wait,
early Once
did
Upon a
you
Time
not
in
watch
China,
Once
whatever.
Upon a Time in China? Like
Yeah.
as a kid? Yeah, when I was a child and I watched Once Upon a Time in China, but
Right,
the
right,
thing is,
right.
I didn't know that that was Jet Li.
Yeah.
I saw it, but I didn't know who he was until, like you said, you Rush Hour 4 came out, and then I went back and like, wait, that was
Mhm,
the dude from this movie. You know what I
mhm.
mean? And that's how I discovered who he was. I'm the same way.
Yeah, yeah. And plus, it's almost like, especially when it comes to Hong Kong cinema, there has to be somewhat of a suspension of belief
Yeah, yeah,
to
yeah.
an
The
extent when
flying
watching a
all
lot
over
of
the
the
place.
stunt work, the wire work, and whatnot. Bruce's stuff was a lot more grittier. The only thing I wish that in Bruce's movies is that the fights were a little bit more competitive. That's the only
Yeah, yeah,
my favorite Bruce Lee fight is actually from the Big Boss. Big Boss, the last fight with the guy at the end,
yeah,
because that was the most competitive. Like the fight with Chuck, everyone talks about, Return of the Dragon fight. After the first couple hits, he took over, and it was like it was sad to watch because it was like the bull in the arena, right? When the bull is ready to die, you just stick the final sword in the bull to kind of finish. You felt sorry. It's like, oh, just take him out of his misery because he's broke his arm, broke his kneecap or whatever. I mean, he's just
yeah,
decrepit. I'm like, this isn't fun anymore. Like early on, okay, you got them first knockdowns of Bruce, and Bruce, once he got on his toes and danced around, Chuck couldn't adjust, and it was easy. It was just like, oh, but Colt was supposed to be like the best fighter in the world. So I just like anything else, just it's like with wrestling, professional wrestling, or anything else. The guy who you're beating should be good. And there's no shame in showing that the guy is good enough to beat you, or that you have to use all of your skills in order to beat him. So I thought that he could be a bit more generous if I was going to be a critique of Bruce Lee movies that I love, that he could be a bit more generous. Like this fight with Han at the end of the Dragon, you knew how that was going to go. You got a man in his prime fighting a 70-year-old guy. The fight with Jim Kelly was kind of fixed because he didn't know about the Iron Hand or whatever. So and the bird came in and he won that by distraction. It wasn't like he was that much better. I think Jim Kelly in an open field like on that tournament, if Jim Kelly and Han fought, I think Jim Kelly would have beat Han. If it was like in an open area, but there was too confined for him to be able to work in. And once Han got the upper hand, it was kind of over. But it didn't sell you that, oh my gosh, this is the most dangerous martial artist possible to fight with. So I thought Bruce could have made his fight scenes more challenging in terms of the guys who he beat. But but the whole point was to show that he was just better. I mean, the Game of Death, especially if you watch the unedited footage,
yes, yes. Those other
if you
fights,
watch the if you
there
watch
are
that,
whole fights that they cut out.
yeah,
Entire
whole yeah,
fights,
exactly,
and they were
exactly,
fantastic. Those were more
yeah,
competitive.
correct. And there's dialogue that's
Yes.
that's there that you didn't hear in Bruce's actual voice. It wasn't even dubbed. This was like actually Bruce talking in it.
Yeah, I
Again,
thought
he could
so.
have been a bit more generous, I thought. I mean, he beat all of those guys, even Kareem. I thought he beat relatively easily. I thought Kareem should have had a bit more. If he's supposed to be the ultimate competitor, I thought that could have, that could have went a different way. I mean, in the real one, I think he was blinded by the sun because the reason why he wore those dark shades, he had a light sensitivity. Once Bruce took the windows out and he was blinded, he was like easy pickings at that point. So I would have liked to have seen more of that, but I think his fight choreography overall was new for the time, but at the same time, it was gritty. It was more realistic to watch versus guys flying in the air doing wire work and swords work in the air and doing all these spins and things that I need. So again, you gotta suspend some of your disbelief when it comes to the Shaolin type of
Yeah, Shaw
movie
Brothers
choreography and
was
whatnot. But
Shaw
it's all
Brothers
great. It's
was
all great cinema though. And certainly I miss those Saturday afternoons on in watching the kung fu theaters and stuff like that. That's still a favorite memory of my childhood. And so certainly I just appreciate the genre overall. But I think Bruce is the one who uh you know put all that stuff on the map. And without Bruce, we wouldn't be having this conversation.
Thank you. Uh, Paul, thank you, man. I think both of you has great points. If I had to pick one person, that would be the ultimate fighter. Let's say Bruce would be hands on because I think he's the only one who has actual fighting experience versus the other guys. They're more acting. They might train martial arts doesn't mean they're always gonna be a fighters. I think he's the only one who has real fighting experience. As you guys were talking, I looked up. I couldn't find anything that says Jet Li was actually being in a real fight,
No.
um, Jackie Chan. I mean, professional fight. I'm not talking about
Yeah,
sparring
like I
for it.
said, wushu is more
Show.
an athletic show
Mm-hmm.
more so than anything else. It's
Right.
not geared towards fighting.
Yeah. Mandrell, did you see that footage of Jet Li as a kid? He actually performed in front of Nixon.
No, I didn't see that.
Yeah, he actually, when Nixon went to China in 1972, Jet Li actually performed. You can look it up. He was like a child at the time, but he actually performed in front of President Nixon. You can look that up.
Paul, no offense, you do know I'm only 38, right?
I'm just saying, YouTube, everybody's
Uh-huh.
that level's a playing field with everybody. I didn't say, do you remember? I said, just look it up. Just look it up. Jet Li, Nixon, 1972. You'll see him there.
Is it that
But
bad,
This
grooming?
guy. This guy.
But anyway, update with schedule. I have not put the next week's schedule, but I can tell you right now, I definitely will be back tomorrow night at 9:30. Right,
Yes.
9:30. We're talking about death that I'm not looking forward to, but my partner here, he's making me do this one, so I'm gonna take one for the team. But we are having another special guest coming back for her second appearance, my mother. So, yes, everything is true about what we say. We're that fucked up in the head as both of us.
Yeah, very,
But we love
very.
each other.
Mandrell, if you go back and watch last week's Gray Area show, that was a very interesting exchange. So I wasn't ready for it the first time. I'll be readier this time. But yeah, they are a hoot, man.
Dude,
They need to have their own TV show.
He mouth almost dropped on live TV. She looked at me. She goes to go, "Fuck you!" I looked at her and "Fuck you!" We're going back and forth for 10 minutes and then go fuck ourselves.
I'm like,
You were shocked, to be honest.
yeah. I mean, but like I said, you guys need your own TV show. You know,
That's how
it's
we
almost like
are.
Sanford. It's almost like Sanford and Son, but the mom is Fred Sanford.
Fred Sanford.
This is what I was trying to tell Treyo a couple weeks back. Like, he says, dude, don't ever curse your mom. Yeah. He's going like, dude, I'm not cursing at it. That's how we talk to each other. And it's not disrespectful. And now you see what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So
But it's still
relationship.
it's still you can understand it, but it still hits you just a certain ways because it's because Mandrell and both of us know if we ever said any swear words towards our
Oh
parents
no,
back in
no.
the
Even
day,
right now as a grown man, no, thank you.
that just would not fly.
Even my
No.
father, we speak very openly. I don't know if it's just my family or a Greek thing. I know a lot of Greeks who do speak like that, and they're fine.
Yeah,
They're
like
close friends
I
ever.
certainly recognize, like I said, the different. Well, in fact, that's why I find interesting about the show is that we can find like how different cultures interact. And sometimes you can be in a bubble, sometimes in your own. So, seeing how that works, but you can still feel the love there. You can still feel the
I love her to death.
the
Literally.
pride there, from both of you. I mean, it's evident. And but it just goes to show that not everybody in the world thinks or acts in the same way. So it's just good to kind of see that dynamic. But it definitely hits you in a certain way on first glance. It's almost like you're watching something very alien to you. So
And like honestly, I love my mom to death. That's obviously anybody who wants to go back next week's episode. I mean, last week's episode. You can see what will come tomorrow. You can see the same thing. But one thing I will say, I'm very overprotective with her. I know people who just make comments and like arguments where say go fuck your mother. Oh, I'm not. Oh, that is a switch on me. And like I would get in your fucking face so fucking fast because I'm so overprotective of her. It's not even funny. But again, that's my mother. And like I don't like anyone talk shit about her. Not even my father. And they're separated. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
But-
yeah.
And that's how it's supposed to be. But anyway, so we're definitely having next tomorrow will be 9:30 on this channel and BMU channel, the death. We're talking about the different cultures, how they deal with death. Don't have a title for Thursday. But I do have a title. We spoke about it before. We're going to be speaking about prep for fights. Me and Randall are gonna be going back and forth at it. Paul was gonna take over hosting for the night. Do you want to open the show, or do you want me to open it next week?
I can open it up. No problem.
Okay, I'll let Paul open it and let him introduce me on my own show for once. Except that,
Not a
guys,
problem at all.
as always, I am Grooming Reviews, Ghost of Sparta. He is Paul. He's Mandarin. As always, try this one more time. Stay fresh, stay safe, and I see you guys next time.
Have a good night, guys.
Good night, everyone.